producer extraordinaire, Jen Jensen. It's time for the early game, where the bacon is always prepared properly.
My grand slam was supposed to be with sausage.
On 107.5, The Game.
Okay, Tuesday. What do you have in store for us now after, Patrick, a wild, interesting Monday? The coaching carousel took a level that I've never seen and really seemed to escalate late last evening as LSU kind of finished everything off with a pretty surprising hire, I think, to an extent. Scott Woodyard, the athletic director at LSU, known as a big game hunter, so to speak, has landed Chris Peterson at Washington, had landed Jimbo Fisher when he was at Texas A&M, had also pulled away Buzz Williams, basketball coach from Virginia Tech to Texas A&M when he was there. He kind of capped off last night a wild and crazy late afternoon and then evening as Brian Kelly, expected to be the next head football coach at LSU. It capped off a day in which Lincoln Riley was introduced at Southern California. Gamecock fans seem to take great pleasure in the news out of Auburn that Mike Bobo would no longer be the offensive coordinator there. Brent Venables' name and Shane Beamer's name really heating up for the job at Oklahoma. And then it all really kind of came together last night with the big news. I think, what would you say, around 8:15, 8 o'clock? Does that seem about right?
Probably so, because when I was here last night and when I got here, the story was all, is Shane Beamer going to be the next coach of Oklahoma? And then it transitioned completely to college football's drunk and Brian Kelly's going to LSU, and it's just absurd. So let's see. This was, I think 8:30 is probably about right.
Is when that all seemed to
smack dab in the middle. I was trying to update Brad Muller during his broadcast during the commercial breaks. I'd tell him what was going on. And
good job, a good producer you are. You've learned from the best in Jen back there. So it was an entertaining afternoon. It turned into a wildly entertaining night. Oh, by the way, Kalen DeBoer got hired at Washington. Boy, you talk about having a school with their hiring be buried completely underneath all the news.
Who's the new coach at Washington State?
Is it Jeff Dickert? Am I right on that?
Jake Dickert.
Jake Dickert, yes.
Who's the coach at Texas Tech?
That will be Joey McGuire.
Okay.
I've done good on this. So far, I've kept up with just about everything. So it was again.
I just didn't know who the people were, so I didn't know the names.
Yeah, if you went to bed early or if you stopped paying attention to sports, you wake up to the news this morning. Brian Kelly expected to be the next head coach at LSU. He is the Notre Dame all-time leader in wins. He will now take that down to LSU. Auburn firing Mike Bobo last night, or parting ways with him. I believe he was fired because I've seen that he will get $2.6 million that he would have been owed for the next 2 years to go away, to stop calling plays there on the Plains after they scored just 15 points in the final halves of the last 5 games. And yes, karma, Jen, everybody was on Twitter. South Carolina fans on Twitter last night were they were happy, to say the least. I don't know if happy. I don't know if you should ever be happy somebody gets fired, loses their job. But I guess when they're walking away with $2.6 million, you don't feel too bad for them. They know where their next meal is coming from. So it was a wild and crazy evening in college football. The transfer portal, Patrick, Oklahoma, by the way, is going to cease to exist at least for a year right now, the way people are transferring out of Norman. And we'll see what happens with Notre Dame now with Brian Kelly being gone, and what happens if Notre Dame players start transferring. Already a lot of talk about who the next head football coach could be. We'll get into a lot of this throughout the morning. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. You can do so. The Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Ron from Lake Marion, 4:38 this morning. He was up, probably fixing a nice breakfast, getting ready for the day. Auburn fires Bobo, and he didn't like that guy. That's what we'll go with on the text message. Jess weighing in at 5:59, went a different direction. Christian McCarthy is McCaffrey. I don't know the old last name. Christian McCaffrey done for the year. Sad time to be a Carolina Panthers fan. Not going to get any better this season. You fellas have a good day. Richard weighing in. He is kind of our resident Notre Dame fan. Said Brian Kelly leaving my Irish makes sense because he's going to get guys at LSU he never could get at Notre Dame. Hopefully we'll get Luke Fickell if Ryan Day doesn't go to my Chicago Bears. There you go, Jen. Ryan Day to the Bears. And then Richard weighing in and says, LOL, Bobo got fired. The grass not always greener on the other side. We'll get into some other things. Mike Bobo now. No, Lee asked, do you think Shane Beamer would bring Mike Bobo back? I hope not. Nope. I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
No need to worry about Mike Bobo returning to the sidelines on the home side of Williams-Brice Stadium. Maybe he'll take a job somewhere else and end up playing South Carolina next year. So
As a coordinator.
Yeah, he might take a year off. We'll see.
Quarterback coach.
Who knows what he'll do? We'll find out. I mean, would it be a complete surprise
if no one wants him anymore?
If he ends up in Georgia as a analyst?
No.
I mean, that's where he's going to go, right? Like
everybody goes to Georgia.
He's got his
the
money.
End game for everyone.
Yeah, he's got his money. He's friends with Muschamp and Kirby. He can go there and be an analyst. Gunnar Stockton's already going there. His son Drew could find a scholarship for him. It all works out. It all comes together for Mike Bobo in the very end. So we've got all that going on. Still, if you want to weigh in on South Carolina and Clemson from the weekend, certainly welcome to do that. We had a ton of interaction yesterday, so we couldn't get to all of them. So you want to ask or weigh in, 803-404-6100. Again, the Cool Care Heating and Air text line or the Love Chevy phone lines. You can also go join us on the Buford Lending live stream this morning. A bunch of you up and at it already. And certainly, again, it was a kind of a wild and crazy night as DC was the first in. Travis, Dakar, Robin, RL, Anthony, LaVar, all joining us this morning on the Buford Lending live stream. You can do that as well. Coming up at 7:30 this morning, we will have our weekly visit with Perry Orth and kind of wrap things up, see what he thinks or what he thought about Saturday night, about the offense, about the play of the quarterbacks, and then also just the general thought of getting ready for the bowl game, much like he did in Will Muschamp's first year as they were getting ready to go to Birmingham and take on South Florida. The one thing that didn't come out yesterday, Patrick, no real news on the bowl game. No, just kind of leaking of information as to where teams may end up. I do expect as the week goes on that you'll hear some things, but again,
Did
yesterday,
you see any bowl news for any teams?
It was completely washed over. Yeah. What was the most the Mike Bobo news? Let me go back to the Cool Care Heating and Air.
The Mike Bobo news.
Well, let me go back. Anonymous texter, Auburn 39th ranked offense fires offense coordinator. Carolina says Kyle, actually. Carolina 109th ranked offense. No news. I don't expect news from Carolina for now as some of the information came out yesterday that Satterfield's out recruiting with Shane Beamer. I expect it to be a few more days now before South Carolina has any news on what Marcus Satterfield or what the future is for him. But again, Auburn's offense this year was good at the beginning. It did tail off when Bo Nix injured his ankle, and that certainly hurt. But Brian Kelly, the news there, I think that's the shocker. And if the numbers are correct, $15 million a year is what LSU may be paying. The contract details on Lincoln Riley also looked absurd if those were true. Again, it was on Twitter, so why wouldn't it be true? But what seemed to be the most shocking thing yesterday?
For yesterday, it's Brian Kelly, because Brian Kelly is not a cultural fit at LSU at all. It's the rowdiest program in the SEC. He is from like Boston, I think, or Massachusetts, if not Boston, and spent his entire career in the Northeast / Big Ten country, and is all buttoned up and the polar opposite of what you picture any LSU coach to be. Polar opposite of Ed Orgeron. So it didn't seem to make sense on the surface, but the more you read into it or think about it, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like I was doing Heath's show and he said that it reeks of LSU just wanting to hire a name. And I don't necessarily think that's the case. I mean, he built a really stable program at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is recruiting really well. He left the team that has the number 4. Notre Dame has the best non-SEC recruiting class in the country for next year. They're number 4 in the country. Just behind Alabama, Georgia, and A&M. So he knows how to build a program. LSU is probably the easiest to field a baseline of talent of any school in the country because It's very easy to get the Louisiana kids to come to LSU. You just have to offer them. You just have to show your face, talk to the coaches, and you'll land those kids. So if he can bring some actual stability to LSU, which no one has been able to do, I mean, Les Miles still won a national championship with a relatively unstable setup. I mean, and his offense was terrible. Brian Kelly can actually run high level offense. Really, all he's going to have to do is just get a quarterback, and he's going to have a great roster every year, and just keep it steady. And I think that'll probably work out. I think he'll probably end up winning a national championship at some point. Probably end up having a lot of success there.
803-404-6100. Again, if you want to weigh in on that and just it was surprising news last night. Initially, I think kind of earlier in the afternoon, as Lincoln Riley became official to Southern Cal, it leaked out that Brian Kelly would probably be the target of LSU, but a lot of people kind of, I think, shrugged that one off, Patrick. A lot of people didn't think Brian Kelly would leave. He will do it. I agree with you. A coach who should build a steady program without outside interference, and he'll allow the Baton Rouge faithful, the LSU faithful, to do their thing in the tailgating parking lot and in the stadium. But it's going to be interesting to see. And you look at that division right now in football, and you see Jimbo Fisher, and you see Nick Saban, and you're going to see Brian Kelly, and then you're going to see Lane Kiffin, all in that division together. Throw in when Mike Leach is about the 5th most interesting coach in that division.
Well, is Brian Kelly interesting, or just the fact that he's at LSU?
I think the fact that he's at LSU is interesting. That could go away pretty quickly because Brian Kelly does seem, although he gets moody sometimes, he gets a little moody. He's not afraid to get a little moody in a post-game press conference setting.
That was whiny
a little bit to an extent. So, but it will be fun to watch him match wits. You have him coming to the SEC. You had Lincoln Riley going away from the SEC, and that was a narrative yesterday. So news starts coming out about Oklahoma, and we have another anonymous texter in here who says, Heupel is not going to Oklahoma. People need to stop trying to talk that into existence. We put our time in. Go Vols. Yeah, I know Heupel's not going to Oklahoma. He really wasn't mentioned. He was on the list. If you had a list that had more than 4 or 5 names, he was on the list yesterday. But it was surprising early on to see, I think, Shane Beamer's name mentioned, thrown out. It was a Barry Trammell going on the Dan Patrick show after us and mentioning Shane Beamer as being a very prominent part of the Oklahoma head coaching search. Mentioned Brent Venables, and it appears that it's going to be one of those two guys. The general feeling, the Oklahoma 24/7 Sports website is reporting. And Vegas, well, I hadn't seen anything out of Vegas. The Oklahoma 24/7 Sports website is reporting Brent Venables is all but done to Oklahoma. Now, take that for what it's worth.
He was favored against the field in Vegas yesterday.
I will read the official part. It was an update yesterday afternoon that, again, this came from the, I guess you'd say, the head person, the reporter there at the OU website, the Oklahoma website, ouinsider.com. Parker Thune, I believe, Thune.
Thune? I would guess Thune.
He put up an update around 6 o'clock Central Time yesterday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, saying he was told by sources close to Clemson that Brent Venables is done. He was waiting on final confirmation from the Oklahoma end. Just to add to this, he adds, he was also told Jeff Lebby, offensive coordinator at Ole Miss, is in the crosshairs as the OC target. So that coming from the ouinsider.com
As
website.
Carolina fans, shouldn't we be happy about that?
Yes.
I mean, I figured we were celebrating that in a great way.
Well, everyone was celebrating early, and then it was reported that, Shane Beamer actually is legitimately in the mix here. Okay, well,
he is.
Now we're scared.
Now I don't think he'll get the job. I don't know if he wants the job. There's two different. Do I think he'll more than a courtesy phone call to say how interested are you? Does it carry on from there? There was enough, we will call legitimate media reporting yesterday, that you have to believe that Shane Beamer is a part of that Oklahoma search, whether he's 1A or 1B or 2 or 3. I don't know if it matters, because I don't think he's going to take the job, and I don't think there's any reason to start getting all fired up over that. It sounds, again, according to ouinsider.com, that Brent Venables will be the guy there. We'll see if that comes to fruition. They named that they had the press conference yesterday, and Oklahoma does it in a very wild way. They announced they're having a press conference at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern time. They don't really explain what the press conference is about until about 30 minutes prior when they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, it's the president, the athletic director, and Bob Stoops to talk about him being interim head coach. And you went, oh, okay, well, that makes perfect sense. So we'll see if today brings more excitement and more energy, more chaos to the coaching carousel that's going on.
It really couldn't bring much more, right? Unless Oklahoma stole.
Yeah. Who knows? I assume Texas. I assume Texas is not making a move on Sarkisian. We assume at this point, money. And yesterday wasn't just about college football when it came to money. Money across the board. The Max Scherzer deal. Patrick, I've never seen anything like that. I've seen $130 million deals in my life, not for 3 years. Not 3 years, $130 million.
For a pitcher who's 37 years old and couldn't pitch in his last game of the World Series because his arm hurt.
I didn't know what to make of that.
It's too much money.
We're talking about money that's being thrown around in college football right now to hire coaches, to bring them into their school, their new school, and what you're having to pay to get them. And then you've got the New York Mets agreeing to a 3-year, $130 million contract with Max Scherzer. Absolutely ridiculous. So Monday was Money Monday for a lot of people out there. It was not for all three of us. We're still right back here with you this morning, celebrating a chilly Tuesday morning. We hope you're doing well. Up and Adam, again, if you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100 is how you can do so this morning. Richard weighing in. That's a scary hire with Kelly at LSU. The structure he will bring to LSU is going to be a beast. Maybe Spencer Rattler goes there now. No, by the way, we'll talk about the transfer portal. Spencer Rattler is going to Arizona State or UCLA. He's not coming to South Carolina. He's not going to South Carolina. I will do the show outside for 3 hours. He's not coming. South Carolina is not on the radar. I've talked to enough people still in the recruiting industry. He's going back out west, either home or he's going to participate in Chip Kelly's offense. So you can let that one go if you're a South Carolina fan. I don't even know if he would take the phone call from South Carolina. 803-404-6100. Again, Cool Care Heating and Air text line or the Love Chevy phone lines. As always, the Buford Lending live stream. Chuck, RL, Trey Mosley, all in with us this morning. Craig weighing in as well. We'll get to some of the takes on that when we come back. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
More of the early game coming up on 107.5 The Game.
Cold outside, better have a good car that heats up quickly. That's why I had the Chevrolet Tahoe this morning. Whew. The seat warmers, the steering wheel warmer, then getting the heat on. Thank goodness Love Chevrolet has always taken care of me. The service department, second to none. And that's just one of the incredible qualities of Love Chevrolet. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Right now, they have got a fantastic selection of Chevrolet Silverados to go along with the incredible selection of other vehicles. They have 14 acres, to be exact, of new Chevrolet vehicles to go and choose from. Go visit them and see for yourself. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. The $1,000 low price guarantee means when you find that vehicle from that incredible selection, you're getting the best deal possible. That means you can go shop other dealerships, take their deal back to the folks that Love Chevrolet, and they will top it. And you've got that fantastic sales department. Very knowledgeable, great people out there. Between Josh, between Jeremy, Michael Corley out there. They all do a fantastic job making sure you're comfortable with your purchase. Go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads. Try the kind of new setup, offset the sun this morning. He comes in where I've got the computer more facing you.
Right.
My voice is. So Were you able to come in at 6 or did you?
Yeah.
You were able to come in at 6?
No. I got a text at 4:30 saying, "Hey, you actually need to be at 5."
Uh-huh.
No, that was intentional. We were talking shop real quick.
Yeah, I need some Dunkin'. I got the regular coffee this morning. It got cold last night. I didn't think it was supposed to get that cold last night.
Really cold.
It got chilly. I was a little surprised. Yeah, we're back. We got you, Robin. We got you. Oh, let me finish my tweet putting out. Let's see. There we go. All right. Do a little tweet out. Mm. Oh, I didn't see the Venables son into the portal. Wednesday, December 8th, Colonial Life Arena, Trans-Siberian Orchestra will be in town. You can purchase tickets right now. They're on sale. A portion of the proceeds will benefit Family Promise of the Midlands, a charity aiming to help families experiencing homelessness in their quest to achieve sustainable independence. Again, that's Trans-Siberian Orchestra back in Columbia, Wednesday, December 8th at Colonial Life Arena. You can purchase tickets right now, and when you purchase one, a portion of the proceeds will benefit Family Promise of the Midlands, a charity that aims to help families experiencing homelessness in their quest to achieve sustainable independence. 803-404-6100, kind of recapping a crazy day that was, Patrick. And let's kind of circle back. The Mike Bobo news, I thought was going to be the crazy part of the coaching carousel last night. Certainly a lot of bad feelings around here after he holds a press conference with Shane Beamer, talks about sticking around the program last year, and less than a week later is basically in Shane Beamer's office telling him that he's going to need more money after signing a contract, that Auburn has come after him and offensive line coach Will Friend. No word yesterday on Will Friend. Will Friend's still there. But if you went to the Auburn board last night, and at one point, I think I had like 4 or 5 message boards pulled up just trying to see what each fan base was kind of saying. I think I had Florida's too, just to see what Florida's fan base was saying. I had Oklahoma. I think I had Southern Cal. I looked at Virginia Tech at one point to see where their coaching search was. It was kind of an entertaining evening. But
is Virginia Tech just enjoying the show right now, or what are they?
A lot of different names. A name that popped up. Did you see the name that popped up for Virginia Tech last night? Former Penn State coach, former Houston Texans coach.
Billy O.
Bill O'Brien being mentioned now prominently in that position. We'll see if that, again, also comes to fruition later today, but talking about some mega deals for him to get Bill O'Brien up in Blacksburg to coach Virginia Tech. But, yeah, the Mike Bobo situation, strange. I understand, look, more money. It wasn't a drastic amount of money, as a lot of people were led to believe early on. I think he was going to make right around $1.2 million at South Carolina. There was a lot of discussion that it was going to be closer to 1.8 or 1.9 at Auburn. It ended up being about 1.3. But he now will walk away with $2.6 million, and we'll see where he ends up. But still, for Auburn, Brian Harson's first year, kind of an interesting move they make.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, is it 2 plays that could have completely changed this for him, you think? If they run the ball with Tank Bigsby, get the first down, beat South Carolina, no matter what happens in the Iron Bowl, is Mike Bobo still the offensive coordinator of Auburn today?
I would think the end of the year, they were upset about the general ending of the year.
The week before, right? Was the
28-3. Yeah, they blew the 28-3. They blew the 28-3 lead, and look, some of that's on their defense. Derek Mason probably deserves every bit as much blame for what happens there when you give up. I think it was about 40 unanswered or something. I don't remember the exact final score. But the bottom line is Mike Bobo, they should have probably scored a few more points there in the end. But if you put up 28 and you're up 28-3, you kind of expect your defense to hold on somewhere and win the ball game.
But between that and then I think it was Tank Bigsby running out of bounds was a big one. But Auburn had the ball with 2 minutes left, up a touchdown, and blew it. So, yeah, it's just people aren't messing around anymore. I don't know what to make of this. I mean, I think they just don't like each other. Like, do you think Brian Harsin doesn't like Mike Bobo? Too many cooks in the kitchen. Harsin saying, I want to completely do my own thing now, get someone that's going to listen to me more. And Mike Bobo is just set in his ways and isn't going to evolve like that. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it because they weren't terrible. And it's kind of what you expect from a Mike Bobo offense at this point. And I don't know. I guess he'll just go along to the next SEC school that needs an offensive coordinator.
I think you have to. A part of this equation is who was expected to come with Mike Bobo. I think
quarterback
Brian Harsin. I think expected.
Gunnar Stockton.
We're going to hire Mike Bobo, and we're also going to get a top 100 quarterback, the future of our program. If you looked at it, you said, well, all right, we'll bring Mike Bobo in. Bo Nix can have 2 more good years. We can bring Gunnar Stockton in for his senior year, allow him to develop while Bo Nix finishes out his senior year. And then we've got the future of our program in Gunnar Stockton. Having watched that happen a million times in basketball, I've got to think that there was some translation there with football that, hey, if we can get Mike Bobo, we're going to get Gunnar Stockton as well. It's a package deal here. We'll bring him in, and then our quarterback room will be set for the coming years. I mean, that was a big last year with South Carolina fans. Mike Bobo was a big portion of keeping him.
Yeah.
Was we get to keep Gunnar Stockton.
Well, a big portion of keeping Will Muschamp was getting Jordan Birch.
Right.
So, I mean, it happens all the time, but it better be a special player for you to make that happen. I mean, it's always a possibility now with the transfer portal, and nobody's truly lost ever, but it will be very interesting. I can't see any fits for Mike Bobo as a coordinator. I just honestly think that it's going to end up being he'll go back with all of his buddies at Georgia. He'll be an analyst. Will Muschamp will eventually take over the special teams, defense. If
It'll be, I think, Dan Lanning.
Lanning will get a job somewhere.
I think this was the year we thought Dan Lanning would, and he might. There's still a bunch of non-Power 5 jobs available that Dan Lanning could end up at. But I think we all thought that one of these maybe non-top 20 jobs, non-top 15 jobs, maybe that's where Dan Lanning or somebody would end up at. But these assistant coaches, now Brent Venables, again, I think is on a different level of assistant coach compared to Dan Lanning. But you thought that maybe a guy like Lanning at Georgia would be in line for a big-time head coaching job. Instead, it looks like he'll be at Georgia at least another year. I think the plan was Lanning moves out, Muschamp moves in as defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
That doesn't look like it's going to happen. A lot can still change here. As yesterday, we didn't anticipate a lot of the things that happened to happen, but certainly with South Carolina right now, it's with South Carolina in particular, and you're waiting on their news, and then you look around and see the news that's evolving. You saw other offensive coordinators fired yesterday, not just Mike Bobo, but again, a lot seems to be happening at a very quick pace. I think that's the small surprise for me. Patrick, you're an NFL guy. You're familiar with the day after the end of the regular season and the typical firings that take place yesterday. While it wasn't firings necessarily, it was coaching just movement. It felt very similar to the NFL.
Yeah, it's just the coaches that are doing and a lot of it seemed, I don't know, maybe Brian Kelly was very emotional and honest with his team and upfront, but like it sounded like Lincoln Riley just wanted to sneak out of there. I mean, there were reports that Bob Stoops basically got in his face and was like, "Go talk to the team," and Lincoln Riley just walked in there and was like, "Yeah, guys, I'm leaving for Southern Cal. See ya. Thanks for everything," and bounced. Like, I think Lincoln Riley just wanted to leave completely undercover, and I think a lot of these coaches were just afraid to confront their teams because, I mean, you just lie to them during recruiting, knowing full well I'll jump at the next opportunity that comes my way.
It doesn't sound like Brian Kelly necessarily was very. It does not sound
graceful.
like he addressed many people with his exit as well. I don't know if you saw the tweet, and I don't know exactly who put it out last night, but basically it was. And now actually I'm seeing this as I went to bed. Finally at 9:30 I had to go to bed. I was like at 9:30 I kind of was like, all right, I think this is where the news will stop. I'm going to go ahead and go to bed. There is now a text message that apparently has been sent to Pete Sampson that Brian Kelly sent to the team, and it says, "Men, let me first apologize for the late night text and more importantly for not being able to share the news with you in person that I will be leaving Notre Dame. I am flying back to South Bend tonight to be able to meet with you in the morning, but the news broke late today and I'm sorry you found out through social media or news reports. I will have more to share when we meet tomorrow at 7 a.m. But for now, just know that my love for you is limitless. I'm so proud of all you have accomplished." And he goes on to say more. So apparently late last night, a text was shared from Brian Kelly to the team at Notre Dame because one assistant coach text messaged another national reporter last night to confirm the news because he had just walked out of a recruit's house. And basically he said, "This guy's making me look like," and he used some not so nice words because the assistant coach had been in a recruit's house and then looked very dishonest about the future of the Notre Dame program. And if that coach, it was an anonymous Notre Dame coach that I think was sharing that with Dennis Dodd or with Pete Thamel last night. You can go back to their Twitters and see it. But certainly it's been an interesting time for how coaches Lincoln Riley and now Brian Kelly are exiting their programs.
And I know that LSU fans are giddy over the idea that Marcus Freeman could potentially come with Brian Kelly. I saw that Lincoln Riley's bringing looks like most of his staff with him. I'm curious how many assistants are going to come with these coaches, because if Marcus Freeman came to LSU, he'd be coaching a ridiculously talented group of just athletes that are always on the LSU defense. It's usually 7 or 8 pros at any given time. But I do think the logical next steps, which I tweeted out yesterday, seem to be Luke Fickell. This is the job you've been holding out forever. If it's not this, what are you waiting for? Ryan Day to get fired at Ohio State? If not, that's it. And then Cincinnati, naturally, it would seem that Marcus Freeman will be the guy to step in there. So it's just so many dominoes left to fall. We're not going to have a crazier day than yesterday, I don't think, but there will still be crazy days ahead.
The Notre Dame situation will be interesting to follow. Again, there was a bunch of tweets that were pretty entertaining. There's a young woman who does the NFL kind of, I can't remember her name, but she does kind of the videos similar to SEC Shorts. Are you familiar? Annie, I believe is her name. I've seen her. I don't follow her on Twitter. But she does some of those kind of videos. They're similar to SEC Shorts, kind of comedic videos making fun of teams. I think she said last night that Urban Meyer, and she pointed out this could be the second thing to fall into Urban Meyer's lap in the last 3 months after his little issue there in Ohio a few weeks ago. But Urban Meyer is a name that's going to be mentioned because this was kind of his dream job all along. And would he be interested in leaving Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville after 1 year and going back to the college game at Notre Dame? Is that something he would do? Obviously, Luke Fickell's name was mentioned prominently last night. And I even saw some people, Patrick, you talk about Marcus Freeman, and this is another guy to keep an eye on. He is currently the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, was highly thought of. He was at Cincinnati with Luke Fickell as his defensive coordinator, and a lot of people last year thought Marcus Freeman might actually go to LSU to be the defense coordinator for Ed Orgeron. He ended up going to Notre Dame. I've seen Marcus Freeman's name mentioned in connection with Virginia Tech, but I saw some people last night saying maybe Notre Dame just goes ahead and skips right ahead and says, this is the next up-and-coming big-time thing. He's on our staff already. Well, just promote him on up.
I would think Fickell would have to be your first call, and if he says, no, I'm still happy at Cincinnati, then you go ahead and go Freeman, because with Fickell, you could potentially have both of them, because Freeman came from Cincinnati with Luke Fickell, so you potentially could get both, but it's gonna be interesting. I just can't see Urban Meyer being – I can't really see anyone going from the NFL to college if they don't look like their career is about to end in the NFL. Like Cliff Kingsbury is not – there's no reason that he would leave. And Urban Meyer, I mean, I think he would probably leave, but I don't even think Notre Dame wants him at this point.
Matt Nagy can go.
Matt Nagy can go. Jen's offered Matt Nagy to Notre Dame if they want him. She's right now ready to go and help move Matt Nagy if he.
I'll box.
Yeah, she's ready to roll the socks and underwear, get them all packed up and go.
Does Notre Dame have like tremendous values for who they're going to hire as their coach?
Values?
Yeah, because I saw Matt Berry tweeted, you know what Notre Dame won't do? Hire a coach who has a video of him in a bar with a young lady who's not his wife. Is that how Notre Dame actually is, or is that how Notre Dame projects themselves?
I think that's how Notre Dame will be. Yeah, I mean, but
I think it can be.
I don't know. We talked about the ego of Notre Dame and where they're at with this college football playoff, and who knows? I mean, who knows what exactly they will elect to do here. It's going to be very interesting to find out. It really is insane that next year, Southern Cal, new head football coach, Oklahoma, new head football coach, Notre Dame, new head football coach, LSU,
5 Blue Bloods.
Florida, throw Florida in there. Anonymous texter here weighs in and says, what about Matt Campbell? I did see his name mentioned. I think it was another, again, national writer. It might have been Peter Burns last night who put out, crazy to think that the next time Lincoln Riley and Matt Campbell meet each other will be the Notre Dame Southern Cal game. So he was implying that Matt Campbell could end up in South Bend. It's going to be fun to watch. It's a different era of college football. And to finish that point you just made, it's not just the coaches. The transfer portal was a spinning yesterday. We'll get into that. We'll continue on. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Got so many family members. We're starting the Christmas season off this Friday. The family will be arriving over at the Gunner household, the ones that are here in town, for kind of a quick family get together. It'll be a small one, but I still want the house looking great. And that's why Zero Res has already gotten the phone call to get out there to make me look like the cleanest person in the family. I want the family to come over and see the tile, the rugs, the carpet, insanely clean. And with Zero Res, that's exactly what's going to happen with their patented ZR water technology that uses high pH electrolyzed water, not harsh chemicals. No sticky, soapy residue will be left behind. Again, you should check it out. It's technology that is absolutely incredible and scientifically proven to get your carpet, rugs, tile, and upholstery insanely clean. I can't recommend the pros at Zero Res enough, and it's time for you to give them a phone call to book your cleaning today. 803-262-4020. You can book online, zerorescolumbia.com. Right now, 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. Again, that's 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119, but you got to mention my name, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. You can do that, Bill Gunner. It's simple. The station you're listening, 107.5 The Game. Just remember to mention my name. 803-262-4020 is how you can make the phone call. 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119. Just mention my name, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. Again, 803-262-4020 or book online, zerorescolumbia.com. Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. If you want to dip out of here. Huh? You look whipped. Tougher night? A little bit easier day then. You can go home today and crash for several hours. Get
this afternoon.
Get yourself kind of a bigger breakfast and get your stomach all full and go home and just.
Yeah, it's not going to take long for me to fall asleep, but I get home today.
Jason, I thought Beatonball went to. Was he not? I thought he was announced yesterday with Lincoln Riley. Am I wrong with that?
I don't think so. I think he was not one of the ones named, or he hasn't decided. Maybe.
It says Bill Beatonball. Yeah. He went. Trojans Wire. Bill Beatonball will transform USC's offensive line performance. Yeah, he was co-OC. That would have been Travis, Jason. Excuse me, I think it was Jason. Go back to that. Jason, I agree. That would have been the guy. But he followed him out. Morning, Chandler. Travis, we'll get into that. That's a good little topic on Lincoln Riley. Get to some text messages. Get Perry Orth in here. Get Patrick. We need Patrick some good coffee here this morning.
I was going to get coffee, but there was a massive crowd of homeless people outside the Circle K, and I didn't feel like dealing with that.
Busy morning. I think as I get older, I really did want to go to bed early last night. I was actually in bed at like 7:45 last night. And then all that new, like I was going to go to bed. I was going to have the lights out by 8:30. I did really go to the gym. I didn't want to do too much on my left knee because of the meniscus tear. And I didn't want to, my luck, like something would go wrong. But I did like 10-pound weights, one leg to see if I could handle it. Just the little like leg extension where you raise your leg. Yeah. And that, so far, so good. So we'll see. Lifted a few other weights. Felt good. Came home, ate some soup. About to go on a soup diet. I lost a bunch of that weight eating that I went through those issues and had to eat soup for 2 weeks. So
It's not sustainable. I was saying it's not sustainable. We got to figure out how you guys can hear me. I was saying that's not sustainable. Like you got to go on your soup diet again. And then when you start eating again, you might gain and then you lose again.
no, go on the soup diet first, drop the weight off, and then work out. And then I can come back to a weight I feel comfortable with.
Okay.
I'm not trying to I just want to come back down, get to where, and then I'll build back up with working out.
Okay.
I got a plan. I see how this works.
No soup for you.
That's right. I got a good plan. Yeah. Jen's just saying, no, it's not how it works. But
I want it to work for you.
so now I can work out and just kind of tone back up. Just again, we're not trying to be buff and muscular. We're just trying to be skinny. It's just more of in shape. Anything between about 165 and 155 is about right. And right now I'm at 161, 160, but I'm not really. I lost a lot of muscle because I hadn't worked out in 3 months because of the knee. So we're more of just kind of flabby, doughy right now.
Okay. Well, on that spiffy note, we're about to head back in.
No, just potato soup, Travis. Just potato soup. Reminder, Wednesday, December 8th, a week from tomorrow, Trans-Siberian Orchestra is at Colonial Life Arena. You can purchase tickets now. A portion of the proceeds will benefit Family Promise of the Midlands, a charity that aims to help families experiencing homelessness in their quest to achieve sustainable independence. Tickets are on sale now. Trans-Siberian Orchestra next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, December 8th at Colonial Life Arena. You can get out and go check that out. I think I'm going to head out to that. I haven't seen anything like that. I've seen some people giving it some high praise. So if you want to go check out Trans-Siberian Orchestra, tickets on sale now. Next Wednesday, December 8th, Colonial Life Arena. A portion of the proceeds will benefit Family Promise of the Midlands, a charity that aims to help families experiencing homelessness in their quest to achieve sustainable independence. Hard to believe today's the final day of November. I mean, it really is like
yeah, that's kind of shocking.
You know, the year. I don't know if I'm the only one in this boat where it just feels like it has flown by. Maybe
the year definitely. The year has flown by.
Maybe because 2020 dragged a little bit. Is that maybe why? And it feels like 2021 we hit. What is it? You watched the podcast on, Patrick? The 1.5 speed.
Yeah, double. I listen to everything on double speed.
It feels like that's how this year has gone. College football season. We got championship weekend this weekend.
Yeah.
But it's hard to believe it's over. Yep. Hard to believe we're into that time. You guys got your ugly sweaters for the.
No, I do have an ugly sweater somewhere. I need to find it. I need to break it out. Pretty decent ugly sweater.
Tomorrow's December 1st. We'll talk about more coaching changes. Talk some about South Carolina. Some of you are asking questions. Offensive coordinator situation. We'll get into that. The transfer portal, that was wild yesterday. We'll continue on in hour number 2. Perry Orth at 7:30. You're listening to the early game. 107.5 The Game.
Kickoffs, Braves, the NFL with live local radio. 107.5 The Game, WNKT-FM, Eastover, Columbia, a Cumulus media station.
They did some kind of throwback for it. They're playing like
sponsored by Lexicon, your holistic provider.
They're playing like the volleyball. What do you see? You saw like the auditorium behind it. It was some kind of like, it was like only for students last night or something.
Auburn's Heisman Trophy winner is the only athlete ever to play in both the NFL Pro Bowl and the Major League All-Star Game. So happy 59th birthday, Bo. Have a great day. I'm Boomer Esiason.
Attorney Joe Cordell. New school, new job, new home. Change is hard and can leave you feeling isolated, and divorce delivers one of life's hardest blows. The relationships you counted on are suddenly gone, but you don't have to walk through this alone. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has guided men through the challenges of divorce. You're not alone. Call Cordell & Cordell. Online at CordellCordell.com. 1201 Main Street, Suite 840, Columbia, South Carolina, 29201. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois only. From city streets to back roads, from road warrior to carpooler, there are some things you can always count on, like the reliability, durability, and power of Diehard, America's most trusted auto battery. No matter where your journey takes you, count on Diehard to get you started on the road ahead. Available at your local Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest stores. 715-9880. That's 800-715-9880. Sponsored by Annuity General. Producers have the appropriate licenses for the products they offer. Increased income is possible using strategies suited to your goals and may require buying multiple annuities and holding them full term. So the dream was to build your very own law practice. Be your own boss, call all the shots. But have things like billing, HR, timekeeping, and all the other management stuff turned your dream into a nightmare? Take charge of your practice with Lexicon. We're the At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we've seen how terrible accidents turn lives upside down, and we're proud to be the lawyers our clients depend on during their toughest moments. I'm Jason Lemons. Call me when your family is faced with any serious injury or death.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When you're hurt at work, I go to work getting you the medical treatment and workers' compensation you depend on. We have the experience and passion you need when you need it most.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 779-4000.
I just love Thanksgiving leftovers. Leftover stains? Not so much. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $119 plus a free hallway when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 1075 again. Schedule online at ZeroRestColumbia.com.
It's time to remodel. Actually, it's been time to remodel, but you still haven't started. Well, there's no better time than right now. I'm Eddie Springer of Trey Cow Builders, and we really do make remodeling your kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, or whole house easy. At Trey Cow, we'll help you every step of the way. We do first-class work quickly, cleanly, and affordably. Call 360-8211, 360-8211, or visit TRECALBuilders.com. Trey Cow Builders, quality from start to finish.
Hey guys, Jay Phillips for Integrated Media. Let me ask you a question. Is your home ready for the upcoming holiday and sports playoff seasons? What if you could upgrade your equipment without even having to leave the house? Integrated Media is ready to help. How's your Wi-Fi working? Are you ready to upgrade the TV over the fireplace? What about some brand new speakers all around the house with that great holiday music? Integrated Media ready to help. From getting Wi-Fi signals upstairs to that room over the garage to the back porch so you can stream your TV outside. Integrated Media can help. Want to upgrade to a new Sony 4K OLED television? What about that Samsung Frame TV over the fireplace that looks like artwork when you're not watching? What about a new 8K television that makes you feel like you're there? Integrated Media can help you out. See their work on Facebook and Instagram, then call 803-948-8327 to set up an appointment. That's right, they make house calls. Change how you do everything at home when you call my good friends at Integrated Media.
Hello, Mrs. Coons. It's the backlift tire in your RV calling. Wanted to give you a heads up that I'm going to blow out on the highway later today.
Wait, what?
It says here I'm going to burst in the middle of rush hour.
Can we reschedule?
Sorry, our policy states that once we're scheduled to burst, we have to. We really pride ourselves on our commitment blowouts.
RV owners can't schedule when things go wrong on the road. That's why there's Progressive, a leader in RV insurance.
You want a text confirmation when it bursts?
Think I'll notice.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
Happy holidays don't just happen on their own. You make them happen with a little help from new appliances at the Home Depot. Because warm wishes won't roast that turkey. You'll want a convection oven for that. An air fryer will help make the season light and delicious. And while you're at it, consider a new LG or Samsung fridge that's big enough to hold all kinds of Christmas cheer. Make the holidays yours with the season's best savings on top appliances at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
CBS Sports Flash is sponsored by Love Chevrolet. Great news. New Love Chevy Silverados are here with all the savings and none of the price hiking add-ons that you'll find at other dealers. Love Chevrolet. I-26 in Harvest and at lovechevy.com. Welcome to the early game.
Time to make the donut.
1075 The Game with Bill Gunter and Patrick Barrett and producer extraordinaire Jen Jensen. The coffee is brewed, the donuts are fresh. It's It's time for the early game.
Hey, were you guys up?
Why is this not it?
On 107.5, the game.
That shouldn't have been. Not sure why that's early.
Eight 803-404-6100 is how you can join us this morning. Bill Gunner, Patrick Pratt, Jen Jensen, rolling through on a cold Tuesday morning. Yeah,
Freezing.
Patrick is he's such a Southerner. Of course, somebody pointed out last week that technically you lived below the Mason-Dixon line and that you were already a Southerner. But
it's not Southern weather though.
Yeah, it is supposed to warm up later today, get into the 60s. I think actually tomorrow it goes into the 70s. It's supposed to be nice the remainder of the week, but we definitely did hit a chilly Tuesday morning. So if you're getting up, getting out, getting the kids to school, good luck. Stay warm out there. Get the car heated up a little bit. And make sure the dogs and the cats are nice and bundled up warm this morning as you leave them at the house. And get on with a Tuesday morning. And we will see where the college football world takes us today. Shoot, we might as well just say we'll see where the financial world takes us today. Again, a lot of things happening yesterday. The college football world and money was at the forefront. But the New York Mets, I really didn't care. Patrick, it was the money. Like if I just saw New York Mets sign Max Scherzer to a 3-year deal, I would just shrug it off and kind of be like you. He's kind of in the
sad still.
Well, that's true. You've got an affinity for him because of the Nationals.
And I don't want to see him play in the division.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You a little bit different. I guess if I looked at it, I'd be like, Max Scherzer, kind of the back end of his career. He's 37. He becomes the oldest player in Major League Baseball history to sign a $100 million contract. Again, if you didn't hear this yesterday, Max Scherzer, 3 years, $130 million. I can't wrap my head around that amount of money.
And he's still collecting paychecks from the Nationals.
The $43.33 million average annual salary of the deal sets a record, surpassing the $36 million deal New York, the Yankees, gave Garrett Cole. But again, Garrett Cole was a 9-year, $324 million contract. Now, again, Scherzer's 37. You weren't signing him to a 9-year contract,
and was hurt last year.
So that was yesterday was Money Monday, basically, because we will see what the details. Now, Notre Dame is a private institute, and they can. I think last night I saw like a lot of people, because it came out, I guess the only money that was reported for Brian Kelly at Notre Dame was about $2 million. So there was people last night being like, oh, I see why he left. He only got paid $2 million, to which people were following up being like, no, private institution, they don't have to disclose all the money he's making. The general consensus was it was much closer to $7 million when you factored in everything. But I've seen some things, some tweets by national writers in the last several hours indicating that this deal with LSU will be somewhere in the vicinity of $11 to $14 million. And that's what we thought they were offering Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, if it's anything more than that, it's out. It's honestly just egregious. It's so much money. And I do wonder, with the more money that these contracts are going to be, the longer term, the more guarantees, the bigger the buyouts, is this going to slow down the potential turnaround of coaches, or is money just, it only goes up? So if there's a $50 million buyout, a school will just end up paying it. Like, do you think, is that where we're headed? Just the most absurd buyouts ever? Or are we headed towards, all right, well, Brian Kelly's at LSU. First year was terrible. Second year was terrible, but we got to let him stay because we can't afford to fire him. Or Lincoln Riley, we can't afford to fire him.
I don't know where we're heading financially with college football. This is all part of the Oklahoma, Texas to the Big 12. Look, there is no doubt in my mind that there is a chunk of this related to Oklahoma, Texas to the SEC financially. And I don't want to necessarily say the only reason Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma for Southern Cal is because he didn't want a part of the SEC. I do think I read enough yesterday to indicate he was very unhappy with Oklahoma's decision to move to the SEC. Did not want to go, especially because in his opinion, as I guess one source on, I believe, CBS Sports put it, his opinion was that they would be lumped into the same division with Alabama, with LSU, with Texas A&M, how difficult. I mean, he didn't mention that. Nothing in there mentioned the pod system that we've heard so much about. But his opinion, they could end up in that division and how difficult that would be, having to bang his head against that every year. Look, Southern Cal is going to be an easier path to the college football playoff. If everything stays status quo, it's going to be a easier path rolling through the Pac-12, and he's going to recruit. I saw again the same Parker Thune, I believe is how we're pronouncing his last name. He is the insider for OUinsider.com. He is the one also reporting that the deal was finalized last night with Brent Venables to Oklahoma, and I guess he's expecting an announcement today. But he reported as well that he should have paid better attention in recent weeks to Lincoln Riley starting to target Southern Cal recruits and recruiting the West Coast more and more and more. In an article he put out last night, kind of where I guess he might have put it out yesterday afternoon, but I read it last night. He detailed the fact that they were on top of the LSU Lincoln Riley situation, and he had enough information to indicate Lincoln Riley wasn't going to LSU, but he should have paid better attention to Southern Cal because Lincoln Riley was doing some things that indicated he was recruiting the West Coast and Southern Cal more than he was focused on some of the Florida recruits.
It was such a slick move in the press conference to say, guys, I'm not going to be the next coach at LSU. Next question.
Yeah.
And not get pushed on it, because I thought that was enough for me. If I was asking him the questions, I wasn't going to say, well, Lincoln, what about Southern Cal? I would have never followed up with that. But I mean, he recruits nationally, so I don't know. I guess you can get away with it when you're a school like Oklahoma, right?
To recruit nationally?
Well, you said what you said
you got
about the West Coast.
You got to. I mean, you have to. I mean, look.
But why would people have been able to read between the lines?
I think if you
just to travel. Or?
I think there had been enough. I think the biggest surprise about Southern Cal, it's not that it's the money. I don't think anybody thought Southern Cal could come up with the kind of money that would entice him to leave Oklahoma. And if you believe some of the contract negotiations,
there's the one tweet that went huge that said that they're buying both of his homes in Norman for $500,000 over asking.
Right. What are they going to do with those, by the way? I don't know. Like, will they turn around and just auction them off? Like,
just gut them?
I don't know. Yeah. If you don't know the tweet that Patrick's referring to, again,
it's from Robert Hefner V. Robert Hefner the Fifth.
Yeah, let's verify what I don't know if is it V? It's just Robert Hefner V.
Yeah.
I'll pull it back up here because I've got it. I had it sent to me late last night.
It says Lincoln Riley USC contract details not confirmed, but best I could do, $110 million, buying both of his homes for $500,000 over asking, buying a $6 million home for him in LA, and unlimited use of the private jet for family.
Yeah,
pretty good deal.
It does. It says he's a Sooner insider, but it doesn't really. It says that he is with a energy company, so I'm not sure how much stock we put into what he's got to say.
A lot of people. I mean, I obviously don't follow this guy, but a lot of blue check marks were retweeting this or making comments because it seemed like everyone was in agreement. I don't know.
803-404-6100. How you can join us this morning. The Cool Care Heating and Air text line or the Love Chevy phone lines. A couple of you have asked, Papa Joe weighing in again. I saw several articles regarding Beamer as a candidate for Oklahoma. How likely is this on a scale of 1 to 10? Would he leave us after 1 year? I think he's a candidate. I don't think that's a question. I don't think that this
3?
is. I'd say 5, but I feel like I'm high with a 5. I feel like I'm high with a 5.
You're going to be nervous about the 5.
Do I think it's going to happen? No. Do I think it's a talking point from yesterday?
5 means there's a 50-50 chance Shane Beamer is the coach of Oklahoma.
No, I don't feel that. I mean, if you're asking percentage wise, 5 to me is still low on the old 1 to 10 scale. I understand what you're saying, but I mean, what I think here, and I think why Shane Beamer was very well liked in Norman, Oklahoma. People saw the energy, they saw the passion, they saw up close how he interacted with the players. The other thing that was really seen in Norman, Oklahoma in the last few years is what a young coach can do to energize a fan base and what they can do with the alumni and to get people to donate money. There's no doubt that the lineage of Shane Beamer plays a role in this, but he was really, really well liked by the athletic director, by the president, by a lot of the alums out there. And again, in a small way, he's similar to Lincoln Riley with the energy, the youthful enthusiasm, and they like that. And I think that that's a part of it that comes down to Shane Beamer being discussed for the job. He hasn't been offered. Let's be clear about that. There was some kind of almost like people yesterday indicating, oh, he's been offered, and he's in the discussion, and it's legitimate.
But he's not a better candidate than Brent Venables, right?
No, and he's not. They could go if they wanted to go. I don't think he's as good a coach, but if they wanted to go the Cliff Kingsbury route, which I saw his name thrown around for that job last night, I don't know if they
it wouldn't make any sense.
It wouldn't for Kingsbury, yeah, and it really wouldn't for Oklahoma based on what they saw from him at Texas Tech. But no, that's not exactly what exactly I would see from Oklahoma. But I can understand why they'd be willing to consider Shane Beamer for the job. But I think in the long run, it'll be Brent Venables to lose.
Is this going to end with Shane getting a raise?
I don't think so either on that. I don't think so either. If Shane Beamer, if he is getting a raise, if that is out there, if there's the potential for that, in my opinion, he should follow the Dabo Sweeney model and say, no, I appreciate it, but I want to use what money you give to me for assistance. Because that's
the Dabo model.
It's what he did early on. And that's how he was able to acquire some really good assistant coaches that helped build the foundation of that program to where they're at. And then
became the highest paid
Dabo struck for $9 million when he had won. Like that was the plan. Hey, all right, give it here, give it there. Oh, now I'm the head coach. I'm going to need that $9 million.
And then is now there going to be a new highest paid coach in college football? Like, is Nick Saban going to get a raise after the national championship this year? Is Dabo going to get a raise so that they're not being paid less than Brian Kelly, who's never proven anything at LSU?
I don't think so. No, at some point somebody's going to put their foot down and say, "Look, you're getting $9 million. What do you need an extra $3 or $4 million for? Like, go out and do something." You know, Nick Saban maybe, but
he'll say, "Well, this school offered me 15, so I want 15."
I think Alabama's not going to. I don't think nobody's going to mess with Nick. No, Nick Saban right now is kind of at the back end of his career. Yeah, maybe he coaches another 5 years. But
I'm so annoyed with Alabama fans not appreciating winning.
Yeah, I don't think he really cares to mess with. I don't think he cares to mess with money at this point. Look, I'll take my $9 million for 5 more years, make $45 million on top of whatever he's got sitting on the bank. He and Miss Terry down there in Tuscaloosa. Alabama knows he's not running off to rebuild another team at this point in his career. He's not going to take another challenge. He doesn't want to go mess with the NFL. There's no real reason now for him to be able to need another raise. Dabo, you hadn't heard his name mentioned for any of the big time jobs. I mean, you hear Brent Venables for Oklahoma. You don't hear Dabo, so I don't see Clemson as a reason to give him extra money. It'll be all interesting. One thing that'll be kind of interesting also is whenever we get back around to looking at it, what did Florida pay Billy Napier? Because you didn't have to really go out and break the bank to get Billy Napier, but you're seeing these massive contracts that come out. What did Florida have to pay Billy Napier? 803-404-6100 is how you can join us this morning. Bill Gunner, Patrick Pratt, Jen Jensen. So you had that all happening last night across the college football spectrum. It was a wild night, and I kind of expect some of it to carry over a little bit to this coming to today. Again, no major news in regards to South Carolina. And quite frankly, yesterday we sat here and said, who knows what's going on? As of now, I don't expect any news. I think if you're clicking refresh on your computer every 5 minutes, hoping to see something in regards to South Carolina, Patrick, I don't think you're going to see anything real quick.
At all?
Not today. Not today. I don't think you'll see anything at all. And I don't know if that makes people happy because you see other head coaches out there firing their offensive coordinators. You see now these big coaching moves. You see excitement. Obviously, what happened with Auburn and Mike Bobo yesterday. I think that makes South Carolina fans a little more antsy to hear something from their head coach regarding their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I'm sure they will. I don't know. I don't think the firings of offense coordinators make South Carolina fans say, "Ooh, we should be careful." I think it just makes them say, "Look, people aren't accepting mediocrity. Like there are teams that are better than us. There were offenses better than us that are firing coordinators. Like, what are we waiting for?" I think that's how it's going to be interpreted.
Yeah, and that's certainly something that people look. I don't know if you're missing out on great offensive coordinators right now. If I mean, you look at Brian Kelly's kind of his own offensive coordinator. Lincoln Riley's kind of his own offensive coordinator. Billy Napier's kind of his own offensive coordinator. I would think if you're going to make a move, you might have already done what if you're going to make a move and you just don't want to announce it publicly, that doesn't mean that behind the scenes you're not already reaching out and being in
Right.
touch with people to see what if they might be interested in your job and what it would take to get them to your school. 803-404-6100. Papa Joe asked Mike Bobo back to South Carolina. I would say I have a better chance. I would say Patrick has a better chance of becoming the offensive coordinator at South Carolina than Mike Bobo does today. 803-404-6100. We'll carry on. We'll get into the transfer portal, get out to the Love Chevy phone lines, and get to more of these Cool Care heating and air text lines when we return. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Oh, if you've been feeling some issues in the muscles and the ligaments and the tissues, if you've been struggling to get around lately, you've been sore and you've been trying to play with the kids in the yard or just do simple yard work, but you're not able to do it, and then you've been told that surgery is your only option, that's not the case. QC Kinetics is at the forefront of regenerative medicine and can help get your 2022 off to a great start by getting you back to the quality of life not only you want, but that you deserve. Give them a phone call today for a free consultation. 803-281-6860. There needs to be no restrictions on your health. And if right now you're restricted because you've got inflammation in your muscles, in your ligaments, in your tissues, you got knee pain, hip pain, fingers, toes, shoulders, now is the time to get in touch with QC Kinetics. 803-281-6860. Again, here's the big part. All consultations are free. QC Kinetics is at the forefront of regenerative medicine. There will be no steroids, no opioids. They don't want to do surgery. So try the natural approach first with the regenerative medicine practices of QC Kinetics. 803-281-6860. Again, you heard me. All consultations are free. So give them a phone call today and get your quality of life back. It won't take you long to go through the phone call. Then you can get an appointment set up and you can get your quality of life back in 2022. That's QC Kinetics, 803-281-6860. No, I probably did not. No, I don't think Skip is a possibility either. I apologize, James. No, I don't think Skip Holtz is a possibility. But I don't know what exactly they got planned. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, we got. Yeah, I saw Jack Miller last night. I think South Carolina's going to reach out to as many people as they can in the portal and just see who works. I mean, I think they'll reach out to Spencer Rattler. I mean, certainly um you've got connections there, but the bottom line is he's going out west. He's going to go to Arizona State. I think he's from the state of Arizona, go play for Herm Edwards, or he'll go to UCLA where he actually his the way he plays fits what Chip Kelly wants to do. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, because you saw that 6.5 minutes. On what?
First of all, last week, if Barry had gone 1 minute longer than he went last week, he wouldn't be here because he was fighting through it last week. During the general show, his voice was gone.
Really?
Oh, you don't remember?
Not really, no. Were we there a week ago today? Guess we were, weren't we? Yeah. Jeez.
He couldn't speak.
RLGA is hanging out here in town. We saw him I guess, gosh, the beginning of the month when we were out at Charwood for the Veterans Day tournament out there for the LC Lucas Memorial Tournament. He's in town. He's doing a little kind of remote analyst work for different schools. So he's playing some golf and just hanging out. Yeah, and back to that Jack Miller thing. There was 5 schools mentioned for Jack Miller that at least had contacted him. And Jeff, yeah, they've got to focus on the offensive line. Well, Patrick, Mark is in on Washington. Wild card team. Keep winning.
Yeah, I mean they're in the wild card right now.
Yeah, Rob and I agree. Patrick, he's fighting it this morning.
Yeah.
We may just have to flat send him home at 8 a.m. Some good basketball games on tonight. Yeah, kind of. Well, he's Craig. He's not an analyst per se, but he's helping people. Good morning, Hope. He's an analyst, kind of just at his house. Like he's doing some scouting. I think it's kind of almost like remote work, contract remote work for people.
What's he doing? Faxing people plays?
Well, I don't think they use the fax machine anymore.
Drawing
but
up a play and
scan it, email it
Scan it.
over. Yeah, Travis Duke Gonzaga was just a little bit too late for me, but it was a good game.
I mean, it's the dumbest thing ever to make that a 10:30 p.m. game.
Oh, yeah, I guess the GSV Classic is next week, maybe.
So maybe try to get in like 28, 29.
803-404-6100. How you can join us. You can also watch in on the Buford Lending live stream. Kind of a watch going right now to see if Patrick falls asleep during the live stream. Not because the show's boring or uninteresting. He's just been working hard late at night and no coffee this morning. So he's fighting. He's playing through it. But
this is the most tired I've ever been for the show.
He's as Robin on the Buford Lending live stream has pointed out, he's about dozed off 2 or 3 times and gone headfirst into the mic.
That caffeine dependence, you don't realize how much you really, really need it.
Yep.
He worked through the night, was here last night producing not only Heath's show, but the basketball game as well. South Carolina women last night, Aaliyah Boston was absolutely incredible. The Gamecocks roll 79-42 over North Carolina A&T, and were absolutely fantastic last night, Patrick. North Carolina A&T was a little outmatched, but again.
But 13 of 13. It was, I think, it's the most points South Carolina's players ever had without a miss, but only, I think, 4 or 6, something like that, players have ever done what she did or scored more points without a miss. 13 of 13 is ridiculous.
She was 13 of 13 last night, 1 of 1 from three-point range, 2 of 2 from the foul line. So she hit all 15 shots she attempted, 13 from the field, 2 from the foul line, 29 points, 4 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 steals. That's a pretty good stat line. That's not bad. 803-404-6100. Again, South Carolina women's team 79-42 over North Carolina A&T. Last night, the men's team will be down at Conway to take on Coastal Carolina tomorrow night. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Al is up next. Al, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind? Doing good. Thank you for the phone call. Well, they benched Kimball Walker, took him out of the rotation. The Knicks have been a lot better this year. They look like they're turning a corner, which is kind of neat to see because I'd like to see New York be a little bit more relevant. But Patrick, it depends on what the Sixers want for Ben Simmons for them.
They're going to want a lot.
That's what I was going to say. For whatever it is to make that work. To be honest with you, I've not followed it. I watched just a little bit last night of the Nuggets and the Heat to see how that would kind of go. But it's not
time to worry about the NBA yet.
Yeah, still a little bit away. But I also have not really followed the Ben Simmons thing since about mid-October. So I'm not sure. I think what he's talking about is the trade that was like Simmons for 5 guys. I think like Kevin Knox was in it and Obi Toppin was in it. There was a lot of guys they had involved. I think that's when he says crazy thing. I think that's the trade that he was referencing, and I haven't heard about that since mid to late October. So I doubt much will transpire with that. 803-404-6100. How you can join us this morning. A couple people weighing in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. John says Spencer Rattler to South Carolina. I know we have to be the front runner, but hearing USC and Ole Miss are potential landing spots. No, South Carolina is not the front runner. And to be honest with you, John, South Carolina will not, unless something changes drastically, will probably not be a factor with Spencer Rattler. Arizona State and UCLA, according to most of the recruiting experts who I used to work with and talk with. Spencer Rattler is from the state of Arizona, and the Chip Kelly offense, very, very appealing to him. I don't think South Carolina will be involved. South Carolina, I'm sure, will contact him. But Spencer Rattler, originally from Phoenix, Arizona, everything I've heard, even since the middle of the season, is he will be heading back out west. And a lot of people expect it to be Arizona State or Southern Cal for Rattler. I did see Ole Miss mentioned, but not sure how much they will be a part of that. Tommy weighs in as well as James on the live stream. Do you think Skip Holtz's name will come up for offensive coordinator for any jobs? I did see Skip Holtz mentioned last night, Patrick, at least potentially getting an interview for Georgia Tech. We'll see if that kind of works out or how that kind of plays out. But I did see that as mentioned for potentially being a person that could end up at Georgia Tech.
Can they get rid of Jeff Collins right now? I was under the impression it's a lot of money.
No, not his head coach, offensive coordinator.
Offensive coordinator. Why would he do that? It's a dumpster fire, isn't it?
If you believe that, I mean, Jeff Collins was doing some decent things there.
It seemed like it, but it's not shown to be the case on the field.
To be quite honest,
in interviews he does a good job.
To be honest with you, he was kind of, I don't want to say rolling along. That makes it sound like there was a ton of success there, but things appeared to be improving until they got walloped 55-0 by Brian Kelly and Notre Dame. And you're right, he's been at Georgia Tech 3 years. He's gone 3-9, 3-7, and 3-9. Yeah, I mean, look, but then again, if you're Skip Holtz and you want to maybe take that job, or if you want to just sit out a year, Skip has made plenty of money and has had a successful career. But to answer multiple questions there, no, I don't expect Skip Holtz to be mentioned for South Carolina's offensive coordinator job. 803-404-6100. Coming up next, Perry Orth. We'll look back at the South Carolina Clemson game. We've talked plenty about that over the last 5 hours, and we will continue to discuss South Carolina and Clemson from this past weekend. Perry Orth up next to discuss that more. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
All right, so to answer Jim's question, no. That's what you get. You can't get a longer segment of that in radio.
That's actually Spurrier he was at Washington State. I don't think he's still out there. Might be at Mississippi State. He is at Mississippi State.
Yep.
Spurrier Jr.'s at Mississippi State. That's where he's at with Mike Leach. Almost there, buddy. We got an hour. You can get out of here at 8 o'clock and get an extra hour. I can hold the fort down for 1 hour.
Yeah, make it. Who is this duo on this Thinking Out Loud show? Didn't it used to be and McElroy? Booger? I mean, who are these goofballs? Is it because McElroy's doing that radio show now? I mean, Alyssa's show is once a week.
I don't know on that, but that's Roman Harper, and I don't know who those two guys are.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, did you see this? Sonny Dykes arriving at TCU.
Yeah. Ridiculous. What is that? A tractor? They should have made him slide down on a rope.
Yeah, Hope, we gotta get Patrick. We gotta get Patrick in it. He worked hard. He's been going since basically about 5:00 yesterday afternoon. So, and that included then being up with us and not getting home. So he's on about 7 hours of sleep right now for about 2 days.
I didn't realize during the day that in this Iron Bowl, Jameson Williams was ejected for targeting on punt coverage.
I didn't watch as much of that as I would have liked.
Did you see that happened? Alabama played the whole game without Jameson Williams because he got ejected because Alabama has all their best players cover punts. Who are they?
All right, bed head back in. Perry's ready.
I mean, I recognize Roman Harper.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, we got Perry. He's ready, and I'll take the extra minute.
Crazy day in college football yesterday. Lincoln Riley introduced at Southern Cal. Brian Kelly, at least looking like he'll be the head coach at Notre Dame. And then, of course, this is on the heels of this past weekend, South Carolina unable to get the job done. That's an understatement. 30-0 loser to Clemson. To break it all down, everything from financial advice, such as Max Scherzer, what he should do with $130 million, to what happened with South Carolina Clemson, to the coaching carousel. We bring in an expert, Perry Orth, joining us this morning. Number one, how was Thanksgiving? You are also a food expert. You give us the fair food expertise. What do you got on the Thanksgiving food expertise there, Perry?
Yeah, the Thanksgiving's pretty plain though, man. Unfortunately, the sweet potato casserole, mashed potatoes, turkey, green beans. My mom makes pretty incredible pumpkin cookies with cream cheese icing. Those are pretty good.
Oh,
pretty normal meal. But man, we put it down in the Orth household, and we had a great Thanksgiving. Hope you guys did as well.
We did. We did. Everything went very well until about 7:30 Saturday night, and I know as much. Okay, 7:50. Yeah, and I know that people, as much as they love hearing us discuss Thanksgiving meals and what we ate, they really don't tune in for that. So let's start with South Carolina and Clemson, and Perry. Heath Klein put out a tweet, and I remember you sitting in here with us the day before Will Muschamp's first home game against Clemson. It was a 34-7 victory, but we were kind of talking about offensive coordinators and Kurt Roper. Heath Klein put out a tweet Saturday night how similar the numbers were from that game in 2017 to what they were on Saturday night, and just the offensive performance as a play caller when you can't get first downs. And how hard is it to get into rhythm?
Man, it's really, really difficult. It's tough when you go to run the football and you're not able to get the push that you want, and you're limited with the passing game that you have. And Clemson, one of the top defenses in the country, top in the ACC. I mean, we were going to have to do some special things if we wanted to score points against them. And when you're not able to get into a rhythm early and you get down early, 17-0, in the middle of the second quarter, now you're having to play catch up against a defense that, once they kind of get their foot on your neck a little bit, they don't let go. And, hats off to Clemson. Unfortunately, they came in with a great plan. And that plan was to confuse Jason Brown, get pressure with their 4 down, and then just let that 4 down line just eat up that run game. And they did exactly that. And you just got to hope that Coach Venables takes the OU job, and they're having to start fresh.
You've seen him. You've gone against. So what makes Brent Venables just such a great in-game defensive coordinator? Is it just the feel for the game? Obviously, he's got talented players, but is it the feel? Is it the knowledge and the breakdown of what he looks at during the week? What do you think makes Brent Venables the defensive coordinator that he is?
Well, everybody's where they're supposed to be, first and foremost. And the second is they're very, very hard to identify pre-snap. They do a great job of hiding the coverages that they're going to show. They do a great job of hiding blitzes that they're going to run. And then the worst part about it, as a quarterback, I always love to pick up tendencies of a defense. For instance, if you've got 3rd and short, typically teams are going to run man-to-man. They don't want to play soft and let you just throw a quick 4-yard completion for a first down. So, typically teams will run cover 1 man-to-man, press the receivers, and kind of make you earn those yards. Well, Coach Venables doesn't have a rhyme or reason of why he does what he does. Maybe internally inside of his mind he does, but going against them, it's like, man, it's 3rd and long. He goes cover 0 and all-out blitz. Or it's 3rd and short. He's going to go cover 2 and leave you those windows and make the QB find them. He's really good at what he does. He always seems to draw up a good zone pressure when it's needed. And I tell you, the addition of Brent Venables and then getting Deshaun Watson were 2 moves that changed that program. And for South Carolina, for us to get there, we're a special coach, and I believe we have one at head coach, but we're a special coordinator and a really, really great player away from being where we once were about 8-9 years ago.
Who is the last special coach South Carolina's had, or coordinator?
I mean, I guess the easy one would be Spurrier. Yeah, I mean, calling plays and being the head ball coach, one of the best to ever do it. So yeah, probably him.
I don't know how much you've looked at other quarterbacks really around the country, but as transfer portal season gets going here, I assume you think South Carolina needs to at least look at that and evaluate that. Do you anticipate the quarterback for next year being on the roster right now?
Well, it really depends on, who we get. But I will say this, the Spurs Up Show post on Instagram last night the QB carousel of what has been South Carolina athletics since 2015. And it just brought me to, a really interesting point. I think I've gotten on my rant about the quarterback position on our show before, but if you look at it, we've had a QB carousel, and we've had, I think, 9 or 10 QBs in the last 6 years start for South Carolina, and that's just too much. Too many kids coming in and out of the lineup. But what I think would be great for our program to do is go and get an experienced grad transfer. Let him come in, compete for the job, compete for, and then provide depth to our room. Because then you'll have a new, hopefully an older QB as a grad transfer. Then you've got Jason Brown. Then you've got Luke Doty. You've got Colton Gauthier, and then you've got the new freshman coming in. So you could potentially have 5 scholarship QBs on your roster at one time. And that's something that we've struggled to do, even dating back to 2019 when Jake got hurt. You had to put Ryan Helinski out as a true freshman when he may not have been ready. And that was who you had to roll with just because of depth issues. And so now you're starting to provide depth to a QB room that really hasn't had that. And then you let guys like Luke and Jason Brown and whoever they go and get in the portal, let them compete, and then you'll have an experienced backup. And if one of them wants to transfer and leave after that, then that's their own decision. But at least you're providing depth to your QB room, which you really haven't had in about 6 years.
The answer to your question, we've actually discussed that multiple times on this show, and it is 11 quarterbacks that have started a game. 11 quarterbacks that have started a game since 2015. 5 of which are true freshmen. Perry, 5 true freshmen, and that statistic, if you take it at face value, you're like, man, that's a lot of quarterbacks in basically a 7-year period. It's more when you consider Jake Bentley went on a run that was about a 2.5-year run of starting quarter. Like that's almost 11 in almost 4.5 years is what it comes down to.
What is the balance of depth and continuity, or giving guys a chance to play out or play through any bad struggles? Like, did you think South Carolina was too quick to pull anybody at times this year?
No, not this year. I don't believe so. I think that we did what we absolutely needed to when at the times that we needed to. In regards to the true freshman thing, I don't think that this staff did a poor job in their QB management. I think they made every move they needed to be successful, without us being at practice and being able to see day in, day out who the best guy was. I mean, I think they did the best that they possibly could. In retrospect to the freshman thing, I have a firm stance on that, and I'm anti starting true freshmen unless they are a special talent, just because kids aren't physically, they're not mentally or emotionally mature enough typically to play at that level or play at a high level at 18, sometimes 17 years old. And you got to give kids a chance to develop. I look at Jimbo Fisher, who in my opinion is one of the better quarterback developers in the game. And he never, I don't think I've ever seen him, and I'd need to be fact checked on this stat, but I don't know how often he's ever started a true freshman at quarterback. There's just so much that goes into it. And when you throw freshmen out there in hopes for the best to quote unquote get them experience, that's not what you want to do. That's not how kids develop confidence. Good, because a lot of times when you're not playing on good teams and you throw freshmen out there, you lose confidence. Either kids get hurt or they don't play well. The fans chew them up, spit them out, and now let's go ahead and throw out the new freshman. And I think that's been an issue at South Carolina, and that's why it was refreshing this year to see guys of experience and of age to be out there playing quarterback. And now, like I said, you go out and you get a grad transfer to come in. You really provide depth. You get a true, honest QB competition going into the next season. The kids will elevate their game in practice, and then let the best man win. And it's only going to make everybody better.
What real quickly, Perry Worth joining us, but what did you see from Jason Brown? Obviously, the Clemson game didn't go as planned and hurt him, but through the other 3 games, what did you see from him? Because I'm of the opinion, Patrick's of the opinion, South Carolina still's got another game, Perry. They can play. They're going to play in a bowl game. I think Jason Brown should be the starter.
Yeah, I agree. I do. I think Jason does a lot of good things. I think he's very athletic. He's not crazy fast, but he's super athletic. He's got great feel in the pocket, and he's pretty accurate with the football. I mean, he made a couple great throws this past weekend, and he did some good things. Obviously, didn't play to what he'd want to play. But again, and you got to tip your cap to the other team when they're good. I mean, Clemson's one of the best defenses in the country. If they had more firepower like they normally do on offense, you better believe they'd be in the playoff with their only loss coming to Georgia. So, you got to take that into consideration as well. And I know Carolina fans don't want to hear it, but that's just the honest to God truth. And I think Jason really provides something that just we hadn't had. He really's got a kind of a supernatural feel and flow of the game. And I think that another month of practice as being the starter will get him ready for the bowl game. And then going into next year, having a full spring practice after being the starter for a few games and going through a full season at the D1 level, he's only going to get better. And, a few more playmakers out of wide receiver, and you're looking at a completely new offense, in my opinion.
What does getting these extra practices for a bowl game? You've experienced it firsthand. So either what it did for you as a player or what you saw it do for younger players. Can you put that into words for how getting these practices before whatever bowl game South Carolina goes, how it does impact the program and players in particular?
Well, yeah, I think that I remember as a younger player when we were going to bowl games, it gave me an opportunity to practice more. I felt like at the end of every practice, we would do young guy scrimmages, right? We'd do underclassmen, freshmen, and sophomore would do, full-on scrimmages, moving the ball up and down the field and calling plays, making it game-like scenarios. We were doing everything but tackling to the ground. And it gave me more reps and gave me an opportunity to prove that I was capable of playing at that level. And and you earn the trust of your teammates and your coaches when you go out and play well in those scrimmages. And the more reps that you do, the better you're going to be at something. And so when you get those additional practices, I fully expect us to be very well prepared for the bowl game. But the 15 practices or so that we'll get are going to help. And I hope the emphasis will be to help bring along the young guys, because you get 15 there and you get 15 in spring. And next thing you know, you go into camp and guys kind of start to feel like, I've played a little, I've played a little bit of football and I know I have the capabilities of making plays versus, an SEC offense or an SEC defense when you're competing against your teammates. So those are very, very important for growth and development of the younger players on your team.
About a minute and a half left with Perry Orth. And to change subjects a little bit, the craziness of college football yesterday, the coaching carousel, Lincoln Riley, obviously, Brian Kelly. What do you make of college football and what you've seen over the last about 72 hours? Yeah,
it's been wild. It's been a bit more insane than I think we've seen in recent years when you've got big name coaches at big time schools leaving for other big time schools. It just kind of makes you wonder if these coaches they just kind of get in a rut of a routine and they don't fit, they want to change it up, or something internally is not right, because if it was really that great, they wouldn't leave. You look at Nick Saban, and I don't know where else you're going to go besides Alabama. That's a better quote unquote football program. It is a whirlwind, and I'm confident that we will have Coach Beamer again on our sideline, and hope that we can keep him for at least 10 to 15 years. I think that'd be a great run.
That is the way you'd like to draw it up. Have a quarterback play, or at least sit for a few years and then play. Have a coach that stays for 10 or 15 years. That is the ideal situation. So, Perry, we'll catch up with you again next week. Get your thoughts on more college football discussion, also on where South Carolina's heading towards a bowl. Congratulations on a great Thanksgiving, and hope you enjoy the first day of December tomorrow. Remember, go out and get the significant other a Christmas present. They enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm going to work on that this week.
Good job. Take care. Look forward to catching up with you next week. Perry Orth joining us as he does each and every Tuesday around 7:40 to give his breakdown of South Carolina college football. We'll talk more college football when we return. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Good Lord. I just did that, and when my finger hit it, the electricity, everything lit up. Like the two lights lit up. Yeah. Whew. Really could use a warmer studio right now. Boy, Tony Morrell's got a big spur update that is not going to make people happy on the coaching search. God, it is on. Oh. Uno mas. Then we can send Patrick home to get a nap. Yeah, Alan, that's the way. That is kind of the way it works. We gotta win nowadays. Too many other places to spend money. Plus, South Carolina finally, the administration finally caught up with the times and started charging people correctly. South Carolina fans were extremely loyal because for years it's always been the cheapest thing in the world to go and attend a South Carolina game. Good Lord. Yeah, Jesse, that was and Tony's been pretty pro fire Marcus Satterfield, so you know that's not to that was not fed to him by somebody pro Marcus Satterfield. Ooh, yeah, you're right. Chuck, good luck. Tell Pate and Roman. Yep, tell Connor and Roman. Said good morning. Dr. Pate, Dr. Roman Cooper. I don't know why I said Connor. Dr. Cooper. Done with doctors. Yeah, no more doctors this morning. Oh yeah, no more doctors. Reminder, anything you have missed, go to the 1075thegame.com webpage. Click on the podcast tab at the top, and you can hear any big interviews you might have missed. Jen puts them up from our show. They do a great job as well with halftime and game time there with Jay and Tommy and Pearson, Heath Klein as well. So any interviews you missed, just like Perry Orth, if you're just hopping in the car and you missed what Perry Orth had to say, Jen will have it up for you here shortly. You can just go to the 1075thegame.com.
It's up now.
It's already up.
Look at that. I mean, you think I just sit in here and just, act pretty? No.
Well, we know that you don't look at NASCAR picks and figure out how to pick a winner. So
anyway, about Bill.
Oh, Mike randomly went off. That's crazy. I
That's
don't know
weird
how
how it
that
does
happened.
that.
It was like a technical issue. I shocked myself during the break. Have you ever done this? I've never seen this happen. Like, electricity. I got all that. I understood the science behind that.
Okay.
But I've just never seen it happen. And so, like, I stood up and went to walk out of the studio for a minute, and I went to turn my mic off. And it shocked me, but the whole little console that we have here lit up.
Oh, wow.
Like I've never, like all the little buttons that have the lights here. If I have to hit the talk back or the mute or whatever, all buttons lit up when my finger hit I've never seen that happen where I created that amount of electricity.
Half the process of becoming a superhero.
That was close.
You're
Yes.
almost there, I think.
Yeah.
But well, next time, lick your finger and try it again.
Oh, okay.
Let me know what happens.
Well, then we'll just be down to you and Patrick doing the show. You won't have to cut my mic off.
Just Jen. It'll be just Jen.
Your hair will be curled. That's all. No big deal.
So Jen's worked hard this morning and is bragging about that. So you can go, if you missed Perry Orth in the last segment, go listen to him on our podcast page, 1075thegame.com. Click on the podcast page at the top, and you can hear that interview. Some interesting stuff there. If you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100 is how you can do that on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line or the Love Chevy phone lines. Steve in Chapin is just waking up, and I think he went to bed early. He says Mike Bobo is out as Auburn OC and has a question mark. That didn't take long. Imagine that. And then he says maybe we can follow suit and also get some of those Oklahoma players going into the transfer portal as well as their recruits. I would caution against believing that any Oklahoma player that's entering the transfer portal is just going to say, man, I love that Shane Beamer. Let me go to South Carolina. Jaden Hazelwood is
very easily say, I love that Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
Hollywood's okay. I'll go there too.
I really did yesterday as you saw Oklahoma players entering the transfer portal. I was starting to think that Southern Cal will just be Oklahoma West this year.
It seems like it.
Yeah, the Los Angeles campus of Oklahoma is what they could be this year. A lot of rumors swirling that Caleb Williams may transfer and follow Lincoln Riley. Spencer Rattler entering the transfer portal yesterday as well. Spencer Rattler, again, South Carolina fans, anything's possible. Never say never, as these coaches like to tell you, and then they take another job. By the way, Brian Kelly, we'll get back into him in a minute. You saw his quote about 2 weeks ago, basically saying that there was no way he would ever leave Notre Dame. And last night,
would take something offer. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous amount of money. But I do not expect South Carolina to be. I'm sure they will reach out to Spencer Rattler, but I don't expect the interest to be reciprocated. I expect him to end up either at UCLA or to go to Arizona State. He is originally from Phoenix, Arizona. So if you're wondering why Arizona State, he's from Phoenix, Arizona. So I wouldn't waste a whole lot of time on Spencer Rattler. South Carolina, I think, did get mentioned last night with the first Ohio State quarterback transfer, Jack Miller, who
Isn't
was
he also from Arizona.
I believe he was. So he is, but he mentioned last night Arizona, Arizona State, Florida State, South Carolina is 4 of the 5 schools that had already reached out to him. But also, again, any player that just enters the transfer portal from Oklahoma, I don't think you just naturally assume that South Carolina is going to be involved. If they were to go after one, Jaden Hazelwood, the wide receiver, was a former 5-star recruit from Cedar Grove, Georgia, who initially committed to Georgia and then flipped to Oklahoma. That is a guy. That's
smaller kid, super quick, dynamic.
Yeah, that's a guy that you would definitely target if that's to go forward. But everything remains to be seen. A lot of things to be worked out amongst college football here over the next, really kind of over the next 48 to 72 hours, it feels like, at the pace we're moving. Brent Venables and Clemson. Obviously, Brian Kelly may be expected to be announced as Notre Dame coach later today. And Patrick, you know, one of the things that I see popping up all over Twitter, we've gotten several text messages about it today. It's that word, fit. Brian Kelly is not a fit for LSU. And I think that comes on the heels of Ed Orgeron, who was the Mr. LSU. Like, if there was an LSU guy, it was Ed Orgeron, but he's out. He didn't win enough. I don't know if I buy into fit as much.
I don't know that I do either. And there's all these other things that people say, like, for an SEC school, it's always important for someone to have SEC experience. And Brian Kelly is going to completely break the mold on all of this. And I think it'll be a good example of, if it works, it'll maybe it will allow athletic departments to expand their horizons a little bit. Maybe it'll allow coaches to think in new ways. And I mean, what was the non-fit last year? Was Brian Harsin, right? This isn't totally different from Brian Harsin going to Auburn, because it's obviously the Northwest versus the Northeast and Midwest, but all he had ever done basically was coach at Boise State and attend Boise State and grew up in Boise, and all of a sudden he ends up in Auburn, and now you got Brian Kelly from Massachusetts and all over the Midwest. No connections, no nothing, but it's just it's a different world in recruiting now, right? Like, you don't necessarily need to, maybe there's other ways to make connections now, and you can do it. You can use the power of the internet and virtual Zoom meetings or phone calls and things like that to make the learning curve smaller when you're figuring out a new area. And I mean, I'm sure LSU has all the resources in the world to present to him and teach him the lay of the land in Louisiana. I'm not sure if Brian Kelly's ever landed a kid from Louisiana, honestly, but he'll learn quickly.
Well, it comes down. I think that's overblown. It's what kind of staff can you put together? I saw last night he's going to keep
So
Kevin.
they're going to show him the ropes.
Well, he's going to keep Kevin Falk, and I believe there was another assistant, Corey Clement. Is that
Corey Raymond?
Corey Raymond. He's going to keep those two. That was already out there. But it's funny how all that went down last night with LSU and Brian Kelly. But if you hire a staff that has good recruiters, especially geographically to the area that they're accustomed to being in, and Kevin Falk and Corey Redmond have been at LSU for years. The head coach is going to recruit.
That's where the fit comes from, right? When people say fit, it's that and culture and the fact that LSU is, Death Valley, drunk fans throwing things, getting rowdy, and Brian Kelly is Mr. Buttoned Up. Not going to be really. He's basically the polar opposite of that. Is that what it means by fit? I just thought it was more. I mean, it's culture and just being from the area. Or knowing the area, basically.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know. I think that Brian Kelly, the biggest issue he has at LSU is the other people that he will be going against, whether it's the pod system or whether it's the division. Who knows what the SEC is going to do with Oklahoma and Texas? It's funny. What a crazy year. You think about go back to August, and here we are the day before December 1st. And in August, we start learning of Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC, and now we're wrapping it up here in November with a coaching carousel unlike anything we've seen, and the amount of money that is being thrown around by these schools to try and produce a winner. Absolutely insane.
So if at 8:12, the less than really 12 hours after the news broke, if Oklahoma ends up with Brent Venables and Notre Dame were to end up with Luke Fickell, who won? Southern Cal?
I think that's going to be the perception because it's such a crazy move. I just the way that kind of transpired, because we'd all been looking at Lincoln Riley going to LSU and out of nowhere. I think that was the most surprising. Brian Kelly's out of nowhere as well.
Brian Kelly is kind of controversial, but some people absolutely love it. I was Peter Burns, the SEC Network guy, is a big LSU guy, and was tweeting all over the Brian Kelly stuff, saying how the biggest fear for everyone in the West is that LSU finds a stable head coach that can just keep their talent there and just bring a little bit of scheme with them and just kind of have a steady ship, because that's exactly the opposite of what they've had for years. So some people absolutely love it and think that it's the home run of all home runs, but you're hard pressed to find someone that thinks Lincoln Riley in Southern Cal is a bad move.
It's going to be interesting for sure, and what he can do. Yesterday, saying that the Coliseum would become the Mecca of college football, to which Isaiah Thomas, like I don't know what the million they're out there, but he's a defensive lineman for Oklahoma. I'd not heard of him until yesterday, put on Instagram, and he said, yeah, Coach Riley just told us that last week that we would be the Mecca of college football. So apparently that's a line that Lincoln Riley likes to use. But the bottom line is that the college football carousel, it's unlike anything we've ever seen in terms of people, I think, throwing around money, athletic directors, presidents, universities, whatever, throwing around ridiculous amounts of money. Again, the discussed salary for Brian Kelly is somewhere in the ballpark of $11 to $14 million a year. Again, there were a lot of reports out there that they were prepared to offer Lincoln Riley 8 years, $96 million. So you figure Brian Kelly's probably into that $11 million level, if not a few more dollars, because they didn't want to miss on him.
So I'm guessing the pandemic did not impact, we heard last year that, all of these athletic programs, which in smaller schools, absolutely, I'm sure impacted them. But clearly the pandemic did not impact the budgets of any of these larger schools.
Here's what I now have grown to believe with the move of Oklahoma, Texas. The SEC schools right now financially, they know the money's coming.
Yeah.
they know the money is on the way with a new television deal. It's kind of
Mhm.
all right. We're gonna maybe throw ourselves into debt here for a year or two, or however long we've got the rainy day funds to get through a year or two before this new television contract becomes official. And all of a sudden they go from 48 million to what is estimated to potentially be as high as 68 to 70 million dollars a year in revenue. I look at it that way. I think the SEC schools are looking around
Could
going
be.
right now, hey, we'll figure it out for a year or two, but we know this is on the way. I think Michigan State did the same thing. I think Penn State did the same thing. The Big Ten's going to get a massive television contract coming up in the next round of negotiations. And that's why you can see a guy who's got 2 years of 3 now full years as Mel Tucker wrapped up his 3rd full year, now 1 at Colorado, 2 at Michigan State. And that's why you can see Michigan State go, yeah, 10 million or 10 years, $95 million for a guy who
Do it. Yeah.
we got it. James Franklin, Penn State didn't want to lose him. He hadn't been anything special at Penn State. You know, he did get him to number 4 this year when they went to play Iowa. Is that right? Number 4, somewhere in there.
7-5. Is that right?
Yeah, but you're right. Last year they had a losing record. This year is going to be a massive disappointment for Penn State. But Penn State can go, oh yeah, sure, 10 years, $75 million. Got it. Yep.
Nothing.
And you write the check now, knowing that the funds are coming in here in 2 or 3 years. And I think LSU did the same thing. I had not seen what Florida is paying Billy Napier. I don't know if those details have been released yet. And I think that's also part of the surprise of Southern Cal, because I couldn't tell anybody what Southern Cal's financial situation is out there. I'm sure there's some wealthy alumni and donors that found a way to come up with the money to afford everything that Lincoln Riley is supposedly being paid. But the bottom line is that was, I think, a little bit of a shock. But you see Southern Cal saying, hey, we understand the value of college football, and we're going to make the move here to obtain a guy that I don't know if anybody thought was obtainable. Now, Oklahoma, it's your move. Notre Dame, it's your move. And some of you weighing in this morning on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Anonymous texter weighs in and says, what'd you just say about Brent V from Clemson? There is a report by Parker Thun. We think his last name is Thun.
Thune.
You going
I think
Thune?
it's
He's going
Thune.
Thune. I'm going Thun. I don't know. Thune. He is a staff member for OU Insider on the 24/7 Sports Network. So this isn't a random tweeter or random reporter out of nowhere. It's at least with a legitimate network, 247sports.com, and he is a staff member and head writer there on OUinsider.com. And he posted an update at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time last night. His update said, I am now told by sources close to Clemson. He's an OU insider, so just factor that in. I am now told by sources close to Clemson that Brent Venables to Oklahoma is done waiting on final confirmation from the OU end. He then goes on to say he's also told Jeff Lebby is in the crosshairs as the offensive coordinator target for Oklahoma. So that was from Parker Thune with OUinsider.com. You can go to OUinsider.com and look at that for yourself. The title of the headline is it done? ? Update 6 p.m. But he is that website in particular is basically reporting Brent Venables to Oklahoma is a done deal.
There were a lot of former Oklahoma players that were tweeting bring Venables back to Oklahoma. So he was there for 99. Man, he was there for a long time. So he's very popular there. I mean, he would have coached. I saw Tony Jefferson. He would have coached Gerald McCoy. There were lots of superstars there. So, I mean, I don't know too much about Venables' like temperament, but I guess he's been offered relatively big jobs before, right? Or is this? I mean, this is another level because this is a blue blood. This is a top 10 program, but his name was been in the conversation for years. Every offseason, his name's in the conversation for jobs, and I mean, it's just nothing.
I don't know what he's been offered. I don't know what he's been truly offered. He has been mentioned a lot, and to be quite honest, I've kind of stopped paying attention to if he's even interviewing. It seems like he's
just content to make his $2 million, and
he's got his sons are there. Somebody hit us earlier, and I have not updated the transfer
there was
portal.
Something that kind of went viral. I saw on Twitter.
It was an Instagram picture of his two sons and DJU doing the horns down sign.
Yeah.
It was on the Rivals main board, and it got sent to me by multiple people yesterday. It wasn't Instagram. It was a legitimate picture. This wasn't
also
made up.
Just a thing that people do.
But it was a horns down. They were doing horns down, and it just had a little caption that said "sooner." That's all it said was "sooner." Kids these days, kids.
Could have
803.
been talking about
Huh?
the dogs. I mean, see, Lincoln Riley's dog's named Boomer and Sooner, and
Yeah, maybe
Shane
they were.
Beamer has a dog named Boomer here.
Yeah, who knows? 803-404-6100. But yeah, you can go check out that other news from yesterday. Mike Bobo being let go by Auburn last night, 1 year into his tenure. Normally, I don't know if we even mentioned that, but given everything that went down with Mike Bobo and Shane Beamer in South Carolina last January, the offense coordinator position here, the rumors of how that went down over there in the football offices certainly got the attention of South Carolina fans last night, and certainly that a lot of people here were maybe a little bit too excited when a guy loses a job. But when a guy loses a job and he's paid $2.6 million to go away, I don't know how bad you feel for him. Like I don't.
No,
I
bad.
I get the impression that if someone loses a job, you typically feel bad for them. But when they lose a job that they were making $1.3 million at, and then they're given 2.6 more to just go away and stop
And
doing
then
it,
they're gonna move somewhere else and make 6 figures next year.
probably so.
Maybe 7 figures.
Yeah, 803-404-6100. That's how you can join us this morning if you want to weigh in. We got plenty on the Love Chevy phone lines. We'll get out to those phone lines, and we'll continue on with the Cool Care Heating and Air text line when we return. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Did Brent Venables get fired for having one of the worst defenses in Oklahoma history?
Did he actually get fired or did he leave? I can't remember if he was going to, like, it's kind of like they pushed him out. They pulled the old Spurrier. I don't remember if Stoops pulled the Spurrier and basically told him to find another job, or if he was actually fired. I think
This
that they
says in January 2012, after it was announced that Mike Stoops would be returning to Oklahoma to resume the defensive coordinator position, Venables accepted defensive coordinator at Clemson.
Yeah, there you go. So he wasn't technically fired. He was told to look around. Ferrari, I think it sounds like I was just looking at the Oklahoma board to see if this guy has put an update. He is not. Of course, it's 7:23 out there. Let's see if there's anything else that's being posted out there. Whew.
Probably a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of update posts because they were losing a lot of people quickly.
Yeah.
It is interesting that Beamer has Greg Adkins and Marcus Satterfield with him recruiting. Like, I think I don't want to play the conspiracy theory card here, but that's just something. Just an interesting move there. That there's two ways to look at it. He's either that they're doing this the right way, and basically they're going to recruits' homes and being like Atkins is being like, look, I'm stepping down because of health issues. You should stay committed to South Carolina. Don't give up on Coach Beamer, even though I'm not technically your coach. And that Satterfield, if he's giving him a chance to take another job, is doing the same thing, being like, look, I'm not going to be there, but you should stay committed. I'm sure Shane's going to have just making it look better than it is, I guess. Yeah, Kelly, I would say last night there was a lot of people blindsided. It was definitely out of nowhere. South Bend is an hour behind. Am I right on that? South Bend's in the central. South Bend's an hour behind. So right now, technically, the 7 a.m. meeting at Notre Dame should be happening. I bet that's going well.
Jack Swarbrick announced at 10 a.m.
Yeah, I saw that.
News conference.
I don't know. I just conspiracy theory there, Kelly, on just interesting that maybe they're following each other around, or that Beamer's keeping them close by.
Actually, I think they're actually on Eastern time.
Well, you're from up there. Count on you. This is where you shine.
I was thinking they were Central, but no, and just looked it up. I think they're Eastern.
Need to make fun of everybody. The only person who could have held through that break was Gamecock Larry. The other two dropped off. That was like a survival of phone lines, and Gamecock Larry makes it.
Well, Lucas did ask how many were in front of him, so he must have been on a time crunch.
He probably had to go to school. Next week, a week from tomorrow, Wednesday, December 8th, Trans-Siberian Orchestra coming to Columbia at Colonial Life Arena. A portion of the proceeds will benefit Family Promise
Sonny.
of
I
the
used to live
Midlands, a
there.
charity that aims to help families experiencing homelessness in their quest to achieve sustainable independence. Tickets are on sale now. And again, if you purchase a ticket, a portion of the proceeds will benefit Family Promise of the Midlands, a charity aiming to help families experiencing homelessness in their quest to achieve sustainable independence. That's Trans-Siberian Orchestra next Wednesday, December 8th at Colonial Life Arena. 803-404-6100. Out to the phone lines we go. Gamecock Larry weighing in on what I'm sure to be is a fantastic take on all things college football this morning. How you doing, young man?
I'm doing okay. Man, I'll tell you what, got me worried. Couldn't eat no grits of liver pudding, couldn't sleep last night. All I could do is drink coffee and keep flipping this remote channel to channel. Y'all talking about everybody else, but the only one I'm worried about is Shane Beamer. I don't like the idea of somebody said he'd be up there on the list, but Man, oh man, I sure hope that ain't true. But one thing I'm glad Bobo he can go up there to Georgia and visit and go with Muschamp and Stockton and all them and Kirby Smart. But yesterday I rattled off at the mouth before I got my thoughts lined up. I don't know. I probably said something I shouldn't have said. I probably just shooting off at the mouth. But y'all got me worried now. You got to tell me something about Shane. Let me know. What do you think?
Yeah,
I don't think he's going.
It's not a non-story Gamecock, Larry.
It's gonna be Brent Venables.
Yeah, it's not a non-story, but I think Patrick and I. Thank you for the phone call this morning. Patrick, we haven't. You're right. Gamecock Larry's right. Normally, I get mad when he tells us. Normally, I get upset when he tries to tell us what to talk about. But he is right. We have not talked much about the Shane Beamer Oklahoma thing this morning. But I think that's also because while I think there's truth behind it, I don't think that this was put out there by his agent. I don't think Shane Beamer's necessarily out there fighting for his name to be in the Oklahoma mix. There's relationships there. I think they like the young coach aspect of it. But I also don't think he's going there. And I don't think I would be very surprised. I would be beyond shocked. I would say of the two things, I almost would be willing to bet Spencer Rattler has a better chance of ending up at South Carolina, which I think the odds are extremely slim, like less than 5%, than I do of Shane Beamer going to Oklahoma. I just don't see him making that move. At number one, I think as is being reported, again, all I'm doing is I'm not speculating. I'm just reading a report on OU Insider, Oklahoma's insider website on 24/7 Sports. Parker Thune reporting that Brent Venables is pretty much a done deal to Oklahoma. We're just reading that for those wondering. We're not making that up, and I'm not saying sources are saying. I'm reading what is being reported on an Oklahoma website as of 7 p.m. Eastern time last night. I think both of us, Patrick, are just of the mindset that while Shane Beamer's name has been floated around for the job, I really don't see it happening.
No, especially not now. But I mean, it is a story because your coach was on the short list of candidates for one of the best jobs in college football. They clearly like him a lot, but that shouldn't surprise South Carolina fans because everywhere he goes, people like him. It's just also what Oklahoma does, which makes it more legit. They just hire people that are familiar with the program or have been there before. It's pretty much what they've always done. They don't usually go to the outside. They wouldn't do the Brian Kelly thing. Like Oklahoma would never do something like that.
You saw yesterday, Oklahoma has not had a coach leave since coach leave to go to another job in like 50 years.
Why would? Yeah, I mean, has Notre Dame?
No, Notre Dame is not.
Like, these are two jobs that people don't leave.
I think Lou Holtz technically. I think that was part of it last night. Lou Holtz, I don't think was fired from.
There was a stat that popped up on ESPN this morning. I can't remember what it was, but it said coaches to have 11 wins in their last season, and there was 5 instances where a coach left for the NFL the next year, and 2 instances where they left to go to another school after an 11-win season, and both of those instances were Brian Kelly, or what did it say, automatic qualifier or something like that. It was an interesting stat because he's the only person that does this. People, I don't know that anybody ever has seen Notre Dame as anything but in the top tier of college football, and I hate them, but I still think there's not many better jobs than that. And certainly nothing that when you're in that seat, when you are the Notre Dame head coach or the Oklahoma head coach, I would never think about going anywhere.
Yeah, we kind of got into this, last week or maybe a week before, we were talking about Lincoln Riley and Oklahoma to LSU. And if it was necessarily a better job.
I think it's a better job, but
I think Oklahoma to Southern Cal, again, I think that's kind of almost the same discussion there is it a better job? Notre Dame to LSU. The interesting part about Notre Dame to LSU, I don't know all, thank goodness, and of course people that know me in person know that I would not know all the academic requirements to get into Notre Dame, and if it's harder to recruit to Notre Dame because of academics, not because of location, but because of academics, than it is to LSU if there are certain requirements for Notre Dame for a football player as opposed to a student. But because I saw a lot of people saying last night, Brian Kelly will be able to recruit the athletes that have walloped him from Alabama and Clemson in the last few years in the college football playoff. He'll be able to go recruit those now and use his coaching ability to have rosters the equivalent of the Alabama's, of the Georgias, so forth and so on, that you see making an impact in the college football playoff.
Yeah. It's just it's a wild situation. I mean, that's what I said about Oklahoma, is just there's a level. Lincoln Riley was recruiting at a really high level at Oklahoma, but when you're at a school like LSU, it's built in that you just get different types of dudes. And that's what everyone's always said about the SEC, is that just in the trenches, it's a whole different ball game. And this is why every time the college football playoff comes around, the SEC dominates. And Georgia's going to do it this year. LSU did it a couple years ago. Alabama does it most years. And now everybody wants to be a part of it, except for Lincoln Riley.
One other part that we were asked earlier on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line was, do we think Notre Dame losing their head coach will impact what the playoff selection committee thinks about them? Obviously, Notre Dame, with not another game to be played, Oklahoma State appears to be their biggest threat. Tonight, we will have the college football playoff rankings released, and we'll see where Oklahoma State and Notre Dame both end up. A lot of talk that the playoff committee will value the conference championship more so than not playing in a conference championship, as we expect to see from as we know, we will see from Notre Dame. But Patrick, do you think the playoff committee goes ahead and puts Oklahoma State at number 5, jumps Notre Dame? They were not ahead of Notre Dame last week. Do you expect them to go ahead and make that jump?
Kind of. I mean, if you're taking everything into account, you should. And also, just I think Oklahoma State's resume is a little bit better. Only marginally, probably, but I just think they deserve it. They're in a conference, and certainly if they win next week, they should be in. But what is, like, the NCAA basketball selection? They take into account players that aren't there,
that weren't there,
injured. Yeah. Is that something that they're allowed or supposed to take into account? A coach not being there for the college football playoff?
That's a very good
question. I don't
question.
know if if somebody answered the question. Somebody needs to ask them the question, like, can you evaluate this?
We've never had this happen.
Because why would you be in college football playoff contention and then go leave for another job?
I mean, we've never seen any of this happening. And on top of this, now you would assume, we don't know what Notre Dame's next move is going to be. We don't know.
Hiring Luke Fickell, and then Cincinnati's next move will be hiring Marcus Freeman. Well, all three of them will be in a group message together, and Brian Kelly will be saying, "Hey, Marcus, can you grab this out of my office?" And Marcus will be texting Luke Fickell saying, "Hey, I moved this out of Brian Kelly's office for you." And Luke Fickell said, "Hey, I got my office ready for you." And they all just do a big swap.
But can Luke Fickell, with Cincinnati, with obviously the biggest game Cincinnati, the two biggest games Cincinnati may ever play, this game, this weekend, to get into the college football playoff, and then December 31st in the college football playoff, Luke Fickell, with a consciousness, cannot, right? Luke Fickell cannot. You can't engage. I guess you can behind the scenes. How do you handle this? Because that's the other question. Like, and if you're Notre Dame, you've got to go through the early signing period. Like, you're setting Luke Fickell back by not hiring him until, let's just use the arbitrary date of January 4th. I think it's January 3rd is a Monday. I think that's the Monday we come back or whatever from that. But how far back do you set him if it's the third? And Lord knows, let's say he wins. Let's just pretend for a second he wins and it's January 10th. How long can Notre Dame allow this to play out? And then if you're Luke Fickell, man, I mean, if Notre Dame gets past, like, the early signing period, if it gets past the early signing period, we're all going to assume that Luke Fickell is the choice, right? It's going to be the kind of we know that you're not talking about it, but we know that that's who you're hiring.
If he says, "I'm not doing anything, I'm not talking to anybody until business is handled with Cincinnati," you mean? And then Notre Dame just doesn't make a move.
Doesn't make a move at all.
We'll just assume that it's agreed upon, but
it's a handshake deal's in place.
Yeah. So I mean, Notre Dame, like, I said earlier, Notre Dame has a really good recruiting class. They have 23 commits. They have number 4 class in the country. They got a 5-star and 16 4-stars. Like, how do you? I don't know how you, unless it's agreed upon also that Marcus Freeman's going to stay and be the defensive coordinator. And he says, I'm not interested in being the Cincinnati head coach right now.
Well, and if
then he's doing all the work for you behind the scenes saying, look, Luke Fickell's going to be here. You're going to want to play for this guy.
Yeah.
Trust me.
And maybe that's how it goes. There's a lot for Notre Dame to try and figure out. Anonymous texter weighs in. What about Urban Meyer leaving Jacksonville to go to Notre Dame? I did see a good tweet last night. What if Urban ended up in Notre Dame and Dan Mullen ended up in Jacksonville? Mullen might be an okay NFL coach. He doesn't have to recruit. Can just draw up ball plays and coach from the sidelines. Urban Meyer is going to be mentioned. Is that a path Notre Dame wants to go down? That remains to be seen. 803-404-6100 is how you can join us this morning if you want to weigh in on that. Kelly weighs in. The bigger question is, why is Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame? That would make me really question what's going on at the university. Patrick, years ago, and I actually agree with this. It is a very rare thing now in college football. Dabo Swinney is actually one of the rare cases of this where coaches stay at a university 10 years. Is 10 years like I think what's the Jen, what is it, the 7-year itch on houses? Is that what I always heard? Like after 7 years you're ready to move? Does that seem right?
Something like that.
Something like that. Like
for college football coaches, that doesn't qualify if you win national championships.
Does it?
How
long was Jimbo Fisher at Florida State before he left? He left.
I don't know. That might be there was weird stuff going on behind the scenes there too. Though,
it was, but
like Lincoln Riley, there's nothing going on behind the scenes. It's just he doesn't feel like he can take that next step.
Well, he's going to the SEC, and whether we want to say that there was,
Brian Kelly just felt like he had maxed out at Notre Dame. He's the winningest coach in history there. He's a legend. One of the greatest coaches of all time for that university. There's nothing left there other than winning a national championship, and he feels like he can't do it. It's the one thing he needs to do.
Jimbo Fisher was.
That's why Dabo will never leave.
That's a good point. I mean, again, Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney. You look at tenured coaches. I believe Kirk Ferentz, with Gary Patterson being fired, I believe Kirk Ferentz is the longest tenured college football coach at this current time. I believe it's 23 years. I'll have it here in just a second. But I believe Kirk Ferentz is currently the longest tenured head football coach in the country right now. And I believe it is 23 years, but it doesn't happen. And I think that's something also when we say, well, why is Brian Kelly leaving? Maybe he just flat sees that there's something more he can do at LSU that he can't do at Notre Dame any longer.
Yeah. And because he's seen it. He's seen what those teams do to him. He's seen what Dabo's teams have done to him in Alabama and all the teams from the Southeast. So yeah, that's why I think, you're not going to see, you would have never seen Saban get poached because Alabama is the top of the top. You're not going to see Dabo get poached because he's won a national championship. Who else has won national championships? I mean, Ryan Day, I cannot imagine him ever leaving Ohio State.
There's Saban, Swinney, Fisher. I'm leaving one out.
Mac Brown.
Oh, no, I'm not leaving one out. Ed Orgeron, who is now no longer employed.
Yeah. And Mac Brown, right?
Mac Brown. There's your 4. Yeah.
So it's just, but not at those schools.
For the record, here's your list. I was right. Kirk Ferentz just entered his 23rd season. This was season number 23. Gary Patterson was right behind him on this list here, which amazingly just completely disappeared on me. Here we go. Gary Patterson. This was season number 21 for him. Kyle Whittingham, number 3 at Utah. This was season number 17 for Kyle Whittingham. Mike Gundy is number 4 on the list. He is wrapping up season number 17. Here's one a lot of you Gamecock and Tiger fans will remember, and I'm a little surprised to see him. Number 5 on the list. Longest tenured coaches right now in college football. Rick Stockstill at Middle Tennessee. He just wrapped up season number 16 there in, I believe it's Statesboro is where he's at, or Murfreesboro, I'm sorry. Pat Fitzgerald, 16th season, just finished up at Northwestern. Troy Calhoun, number 7 at Air Force. Nick Saban, number 8 on the list. Ken Niumatalolo is number 9 on the list, just finishing up season number 14. And David Cutcliffe, who was just mutually parted ways, just wrapped up season number 14 as well. So there was your top 10.
He is not retiring. Apparently, he's not interested in retiring.
We've seen that. I've seen his name mentioned on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line as well this morning. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Live, local, and free. That's how we do sports. 107.5 The Game. Feel free to call and complain if you wish.
You should call that radio station and let them have it.
Remember, we are free of charge. After all.
Yeah, I saw that, C-Ben, that if,
From the Shepherd's Glass
Beamer
Traffic
had been
Center,
there, he would have
Shepherd's
been
Glass,
promoted.
a true reflection of quality.
Dakar, I don't know. I
Shepherd'sGlass.com.
don't know if
St.
Oklahoma goes
Andrews
ahead
Road
and
near
announces
Ashland
Venables.
Road, we do have a
It would kind of
report
make
of an
sense.
accident.
Bring him in, let him
Also
work
working
alongside
an
Bob
earlier
Stoops,
crash
we worked
North
with.
Brickyard
I
Road
did see
at
Tony
North
Elliott's name
Springs
mentioned
Road,
from Virginia Tech,
and
but
an accident Killian Road at
feels like they might be
Farrow
going Bill
Road.
O'Brien.
It's going to be pretty nice today when it finally warms up. 65 is our projected high. Overnight low 36. 70 tomorrow. 74 on Thursday.
And
Could
Elliott
be
leaves for
78
Virginia Tech
on
right after.
Friday. Right now, 31 at 107.5 The Game.
Oh,
Motors. Very Mariazzi here. I'd like to carry more parts, but I barely have room to think in my garage. Luckily, eBay Motors has all the right parts at the right
From
price.
the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center.
Can't imagine
St.
stocking
Andrews.
that many parts. We want to get all those shelves. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
And an accident
Leftovers
Killian
are
Road
so
at
good. Turkey,
Farrow Road.
cranberry sauce dressing, and that last slice of apple pie. You know what the worst leftover is? Stains lingering on your carpets. That's why I trust Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Only Zero Res uses patented technology and ZR.
Brian Glenn just texted me. All the text says is hot and spicy, hot and spicy, hot and spicy, hot and spicy. The pizzas and fire. I just said, that's right, Sunday, 12 p.m., either restaurant, let me know which. So wherever he tells us to go. All right, we will be live streaming from Village Idiot on Sunday, noon. You can also come join us. The payoff of the picks bet will happen. I guess I'll have to bring the Austin, my son.
Imagine just $3.99 and $9.99, and they're gorgeous. So come see us this week and get a great deal on stud. Only in Traditions Fine Jewelry on Sunset in Lexington, or visit our new Sand Hills location across from the fountain, where the Midlands get engaged.
We were, both times I looked up to go up to the phone calls, they were dropping off.
Say that last part again. Say that last part again.
I was saying every time I looked up to go to the phone line, somebody was dropping off. Like, we're gonna go to Ray, and I would do that last person one. I saw somebody call in, but I looked up their phone.
Yeah. I was just glad to hear from Gamecock Larry. A little bit, yeah. I had checked with his daughter earlier to make sure he was okay. Interesting. So why is it not? There we go.
107.5 The Game and SCDVEC encourage parents to protect their children against COVID-19.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I work at Process Hair Salon. I got my daughter, who's 6 years old. Her name's Adele, vaccinated. She's in public school. She is in gymnastics.
Yeah, I was having to talk to Jen. I cut my sound off. I was talking to Jen.
Feels really good to have her safe and protected, and also other children that are around her as well.
Children 5 years and older can now get vaccinated. Get the facts at scdvec.gov.
Really, you consider that a loss? No sound from Gunner?
I feel like I'm back to yesterday where I'm having to check Twitter constantly to
see what's new.
Oh, Pete Thamel. We got some news. Virginia Tech's search has focused in on Penn State defensive coordinator Brent Pry. No deal is done yet, but the hire is expected to happen soon.
Brent Pry. I've definitely heard of him.
See, Ty, this is why it's an advantage that we have an issue where they can't always hear me. So, it's all good.
I'm Joel Clark, a select quote agent, with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and he can't take it with him. Well, I went to work and found Ray, who's 40 and takes medication to control his high blood pressure, a 10-year,
Thank you.
$100,000 policy for only $19 a month. That's way more coverage for a lot less than what he was paying. If SelectQuote didn't shop for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote and to find out how much you can save, call 1-800-597-2010. That's 1-800-597-2010. 1-800-597-2010.
All right, bet to come back in.
Or go to selectquote.com. Since 1985, we shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at selectquote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by, shop online today, and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. And now, back to the early game on 1075 The Game.
Eight 803-404-6100. Again, a reminder, Trans-Siberian Orchestra back in Columbia next Wednesday, December 8th, Colonial Life Arena. Tickets are on sale now. A portion of the proceeds will benefit Family Promise of the Midlands, a charity that aims to help families experiencing homelessness in their quest to achieve sustainable independence. You can purchase tickets. They are on sale now next Wednesday, December 8th, Trans-Siberian Orchestra back in Columbia at Colonial Life Arena. I'm trying to do a little bit of research real quick. Welcome to the 21st century, Patrick. This is so new. Last night it was announced Brian Kelly would be leaving Notre Dame for LSU. He sent out a group text message, whatever, or all sent him a message and basically apologizing for not being able to tell them in person, for thanking them. Notre Dame players, I did not know this. It's called Inside the Garage, have a podcast. They have a podcast, and really? I'm trying to see exactly which players it is. They got on there last night and talked about their feelings. Like this was not a media session. It is listed on Apple Podcast, Emergency Pod, reacting to Coach Kelly leaving for LSU. The guys gathered for an emergency podcast to discuss the breaking news that their head coach, Brian Kelly, is leaving Notre Dame for LSU. Each member from Inside the Garage shares how they are feeling, what will be different moving forward, and who they think should be the next head coach at Notre Dame. I have not listened to it. It's a 17-minute podcast that is out there. But you talk about an era of player independence to go and voice your opinion. You got it?
Kyle Hamilton, Cam Hart, KJ Wallace, and Connor Radigan.
So Kyle Hamilton is a future NFLer.
Is a future top 10 pick. Yeah.
And they have a podcast out. And I'm just reading some people are kind of putting reviews out, basically saying that the players are not mad. They're stunned. And in the podcast, they promote Marcus Freeman as the guy they think that should replace Brian Kelly pretty hard. So I think that's pretty interesting that players can go out and do that. One other piece of news that popped up about 7 minutes ago. We've not talked about Virginia Tech. Pete Thamel reporting just within the last, again, about 10 minutes
45.
That Virginia Tech is focusing in on Brent Pry, defensive coordinator for Penn State. Pete Thamel reports no deal is done yet, but the hire is expected to happen soon. Brent Pry, Penn State defense coordinator, is expected to be hired soon
30.
as the Virginia Tech head coach. Patrick, it's a lot of news. I know you're worn out.
Too much.
Be
Too much
careful
news.
taking a nap today.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to put your phone on silent or not. Who knows what you'll
leave it
miss.
downstairs, I guess.
Good grief. What a day. What a day. We'll do it all again tomorrow, though. For Jen Jensen, for Patrick Perrett, I'm Bill Gunner. You've been listening to The Early Game on 107.5 The Game.
Crazy.
All right.
Thank you. Y'all have a
Awesome day.
fantastic day. We're sending Patrick home.
Yeah.
Again, tell everybody, tweet it out. Sunday, noon. We'll let you know which Village Idiot, the payoff of the picks contest to which I'm losing right now. A very, very spicy pizza in the first slice with no water.
And I talked to Brian.
I did. He actually just texted me.
Okay, well, and I talked to him the other day when we were over there, and he was talking about how he's working with the chef to mix up that very spicy. Yeah, they're very excited.
Yeah, good. Everybody have a good day.